Library Trustees for the Altadena Library District, Wednesday, March 7th, 2018 at 5:09 p.m. Roll call. Ira Berkowski. Here. Gwendolyn McMullen. John McDonald is present. Armando Zambron.
Present.
Number 3, adoption of the agenda. We have some public comment on that. Monica Hubbard, would you like to speak now on adoption of the agenda?
Monica over here.
Yes, I'm here. No. Is that what I put on the floor?
Yes.
Number 3. Okay, all right.
You do have a
Yeah, I did.
parenthetical scheduling of meetings?
Yes, there you go. Sorry.
Monica, I'm just going to check your microphone to see if it's on.
Okay, so my name is Monica Hubbard. I had some questions about the meetings based on past meetings that I've attended since October and the rescheduling of this meeting. I'm wondering, what is the legally required procedure for changing the date and time of a regularly scheduled board meeting? What business must be conducted in regular public meetings of the board? And what business may be conducted in public special session meetings of the board? Moving this meeting to a Wednesday, calling it a postponed meeting, and packing the agenda in order possibly to limit the time available to thoughtfully consider the business at hand, to me and to NBBA, Neighbors Building a Better Altadena, indicates that you may not be informed on correct procedure, or you simply ignored it. It also shows a lack of planning or your attempt to ensure that fewer members of the public attend and have the opportunity to speak. According to the rules that you agreed to uphold when you became a board member, I don't think you had the right to postpone the meeting and move everything to tonight. You had the right to cancel last Monday's meeting, move the business to April's meeting, and, if necessary, schedule a special meeting for the express purpose of whatever, hearing from the candidates or any other business that you felt was so urgent that needed to be moved. So I'm just wondering if you are aware of the rules for government bodies. If you observe the PCC Foundation boards and the City Council in Pasadena, I think you'll see that they follow a different procedure, which is the legal one. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a response to that, the meeting was rescheduled due to an anticipated lack of quorum last Monday, which is legally available to us to do. But thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments. We can definitely look into all of those. I don't think that we have a lack of public attendance at today's meeting, so there was no attempt to reschedule the meeting at an inconvenient time for anybody. Thank you, though. Mark Marisco had a comment on adoption of the agenda as well.
Mark Marisco. So thank you. Actually, I was going to say something a little similar to that, but you do have the right. I will agree with kind of what you just said, John, that you can have a special meeting and pretty much carry on with almost all of, probably with all of the business. I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure you can do that. But my issue with adopting this one is you have some reports, and I put down I'm probably going to speak on them, but you know, where you're putting information and action, and there's no reports. And so it just makes it hard for the public to really know what it is you're going to talk about. And so I suggest for future meetings, you know, that you really consider, even if it's a one-page quick written report. And the one example I'll just give you is update on budget memo and mid-year budget adjustment. You know, you probably aren't going to make any adjustment tonight because you're going to get a report, I'm not sure, but, you know, just those kind of things should have a written report so we can see it ahead of time, the 72 hours or something, so just a note for the future. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We do have a potential change to the agenda. As part of the regular procedure of interviewing and potentially appointing a new trustee, we should have an agenda item following the interviews of swearing in of the new trustee. So I invite a motion to add that to the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
And a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We'll put that in right after the interviews of the potential trustees. That'll be A2, right before B. Now into public comment. We do have a number of public comments. I'll remind everybody that you should limit your items to 3 minutes per item, 12 minutes total for any similar items. And all comments are welcome. The board is not allowed to act on any, or take any action on any item not on the agenda. We have 2 public comments that appear to be of a general nature, so I'll call them first. Mark Mariscal.
No. No, Mark Mariscal. And running it just dropped my thought. But I mean, I think maybe you could say a quick yes. I mean, the other items we're going to talk on, we can still talk during those, I'm assuming. And so I'm going off of that. But the budget for next year, which is usually done, I think, around April, you start talking about it. You know, it's been done before where either a special meeting's been called so that the public can then say some things or something. And I just suggest you might consider that again. And really, as we know, the community conversations took place. Besides what occurred in the library, things have been occurring outside of the library from good follow-ups of that. But some of the better things that have occurred in the library over the last 12, 18 months with extra programs either being supported from the Friends or even the library's budget, hopefully will continue. And so, again, I think hearing from the public, not just waiting when you're actually ready to vote on the budget, but ahead of time and prep, I just would suggest that you might consider that.
Okay, thank you. Monica Hubbard.
Monica Hubbard. At the last regular board meeting of record in January, former employee Charmaine Alia stood before you at this microphone and began her remarks with this comment: "Why do you guys keep asking me to come here?" This leaves Neighbors Building a Better Altadena with the distinct impression that one or more of you trustees has been actively soliciting and encouraging negative comment from the community and from former employees. Also at the last meeting, trustee candidate Dave Herman, wrapped in a cloak of grievance and hostility, made a statement that there are 11 lawsuits pending against the library. None of you challenged his assertion or corrected him, as you did with me just now. Later, when Mr. Herman was asked by a member of the Friends of the Altadena Library to cite the source of his information, he merely said that someone had told him. NBBA is aware of 2 lawsuits only cited in your agendas. There may be others, but the ones that we are aware of are in your agendas. Unfortunately, it's regrettable that lawsuits are not unusual when there is a new director or a change in leadership. You have a responsibility to we the people and to the employees to be clear about what is and what is not fact. And you are allowed to do that in the course of the meeting. You should have corrected Mr. Herman in public and not allowed his fallacious statement to stand. That you did not do so speaks volumes.
Thank you for your comments. Sebastian Zelepin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sebastian Zelepin, and I work at the Altadena Library. Taking under consideration over a month-long and recently extended absence of the library's director, I would like to ask if the reason for that absence and its consequences on the present and future state of the library be explained, please. I believe that many of the library's staff members, as well as the library's patrons and the Altadena community, feel entitled to know and would very much appreciate any information regarding this matter. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Jennifer Hall Lee.
Hello. I have with me library trustee self-assessments. There hasn't been one done in several years from what I saw. I downloaded these from the website, and I believe they were in your trustee handbook that was given to you in 2017. I am requesting that a special meeting take place to go over these self-assessments, or that they be put on the agenda for next month. And I have printed out 2 copies each for all of you, 2 in case you lose one. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Jan Sanders.
Thank you very much. My name is Jan Sanders, and I am the retired director of the Pasadena Public Library, having had the pleasure of serving there for 12 years. I have been active in public libraries for 45 years in a number of states, and have done probably every job in this building at some point. So that's kind of fun. I also have served as the president of the Public Library Association of America, which gave me a sort of a national perspective, and I appreciated that. Right now, I live right on the border of Altadena and Pasadena, so I'm very interested in libraries and library development in the community that I like to call home. And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share just a few observations of what my life career has told me are best practices for boards. All library boards serve in the best interest of the community, and with that thought at heart. They know the community, not just what information needs are for that community, but what are the skills and what are the needs and what are the areas of interest that ought to be addressed by a public library who's serving its community well. A good board should have a variety of talents upon it. It should have people of all walks of life, of all pieces of the community it's striving to serve. Those people serve as the eyes and ears of the community and bring to the library information about what is being talked about, what is needed, what is being considered by the community at large. Good library boards operate in an open, transparent manner. They all observe the Brown Act, of course, and all the laws of California, and they build trust and acceptance, because trust and acceptance is really the currency that libraries have. We don't have a lot of money, but we have a lot of trust from our community. We have a lot of love and buy-in from our community, and that is something we want to engender. Good boards understand that they have a role as supportive of the staff, not acting as the staff. Their job is to applaud, not to do the work. The reason we hire talented professionals and let them do their job is because that is what they are trained to do, and that is what they enjoy doing. Other activity undercuts their morale and their confidence and erodes the fiduciary responsibility of serving the public effectively. If the board steps in, and the question becomes, why do we even need the staff? Which is kind of a ridiculous question. A good board sets the mission and the vision for the library to be the seers for the organization, to look out 2 to 5 years, not more than that, because beyond that is just nanospace. I mean, we can't go any further than that. It's even scary to go 2 to 5. But to prepare the way and to set the emphasis for the rest of us to step in and do the work and the directing. A good board works to hire and develop the best possible director and thus, through that director, the best possible staff. They have oversight of this position, not management of the position, certainly not management of the institution, but oversight, so that the staff can do the work they are intended and expected to do. So what can it be that might deride a good, efficient board? Failure to understand their role and the role of the director, failure to separate vision from a personal agenda, perhaps, failure to keep board...
Thank you, Ms. Sanders.
Let her finish.
Can you wrap up?
I'm sorry. All right.
Please.
Let her finish.
You can't, they're calling me.
No, I asked you to wrap up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You've
I'm sorry.
exceeded-
I misheard you.
You've exceeded your 3 minutes. We just need to keep
I
moving.
appreciate that.
If your speech is longer than that, let us know.
Okay, it's not a whole lot longer. I'm just about to wrap it up here. What else can derail a board? Failure to keep the board position and board actions clear, clean, and open to all. To have a handbook, bylaws, and guidelines which everyone can refer to who operates within the community, and the public knows their path and what is expected to happen. We all want the very best that can be derived for the city of Altadena. We believe in what a public library is, what it stands for, what it can and should do. The challenge is in defining the path and holding that direction firmly in our compass and in our actions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and also for your service to the field of librarianship. We have 3 public comments on criteria for election for the trustees. Joan Ryback, Ann Schoman, and Michelle Zach. Would you like to make your comments when we get to that agenda item or now?
If I could make mine now, I have another meeting I have to go to.
Absolutely, please approach the podium.
Thank you very much. Joan Redak, 1008 East Palm Street. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. As we all know, we are in a new era where the internet and other inventions and innovations of the 21st century are changing what a library looks like. And I'm hoping and assuming that you, as the board of our very wonderful library, have a vision of what you think that the Altadena Library should look like. And I'm fairly new in the community, but I personally have not heard that vision articulated. And it seems like it's an essential step in creating the criteria for appointing or electing a new board member so that you know exactly who you're looking for that can, and how you want that person to be able to participate and contribute in establishing and carrying out that vision. So I would really appreciate it if you could articulate that this evening, the vision that you have for the library moving forward, and exactly what criteria that you're looking for in this next person who will sit with you on the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Ann or Michelle, would you like to make your comments now or later?
I'm Ann, I'd like to wait until
Okay.
that.
I have to go, so if I have my.
Okay, great, thank you. Please
I
approach the
also
podium.
asked to speak to this point.
Oh, okay.
I have the normally scheduled Monday meeting on my calendar, but because this is a change, that's why I'm not able to stay. I just wanted to just briefly say that I hope in considering a new trustee that you will take the kinds of experience that's needed, and it might not even be on the current board, like someone who has a lot of board experience and library experience. I think that's really important, and I also feel that it would be a good idea to really consider a woman, because otherwise it will be 4 men to 1 woman. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Monica, I apologize. You did not note this.
That's all right,
topic.
9A, I'll wait.
Okay, thank you. Go. Okay. So we'll move on to item number 5, personnel appointments, resignations, terminations, and transfers.
So we have one,
Brian.
yeah. Daisy Flores, part-time aide, she started on January 3rd. She is not here tonight, she did work this morning.
Congratulations, Daisy.
Great. Welcome to Daisy. Financial reports, pages 3 through 16 in the board packet. Financial reports for December 2017. I believe Nicole prepared those. Would you like to make any comments?
So if anybody needs to use this microphone, the on-off button is right at the base. It's a little gray button and a light will come on when you push it.
Yes. Yes. So Nicole, you noted that most variances are considered timing variances. Is there anything to point out that's in particular in the financial reports or no?
Nothing particular, no. We are still waiting on revenue from the county to be posted, so we do look a little low for the present time. We did receive a very generous grant from the Friends, $12,000. And otherwise,
Can the speaker speak to the microphone so the tape picks it up?
Sorry, yeah, Ryan, can you give? Here you go.
I just said that we look a little low right now. We're waiting for funds from the county to be posted. We did receive a generous donation from the Friends of $12,000. We're still waiting on the mid-year budget amendment, so at that point in time, anything that has a variance of about 25% will be adjusted. That's about it.
Okay, thank you. Trustees, any discussion on the financial report? Recommended action, the Board of Library Trustees hereby receives and files the financial reports. May I have a motion? And a second? Any discussion?
Did we receive the payment for the building?
We have not received the payment. They actually upped the amount that they're offering from $6,000 to $7,500. We'll check in with them on when that will be delivered, but I would expect it in March.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. The motion passes to file the financial reports. We're going to take a 5-minute break at this point before we get to the consent calendar.
Go Friends! Go Friends! Good job. Yeah, thanks. Somebody's got to thank you guys. We don't do things for thanks. No, but I mean, it's nice to do things to keep life occupied.
Are you a member?
No.
Oh, here, let me.
Yeah.
And I know who you are.
I know, pass the envelopes, yeah. Except Jane. That's, limit the amount of, donate, limit my donate to flat gallons and otherwise. Well, no, I mean, there's only a limited amount of money in the pot, but I I've done in the past. Well, I'm the guy who posts about, on that store. Yeah. So there. Do I get a card though, so it's carrying? Can be a card carrying number?
Okay, come back into session after the break. Consent calendar, typically the consent calendar is to adopt a series of actions with one vote. We have a number of recommended actions here, but we do have a public comment before we get to those. Mark Mariscal.
Oh, I forgot my bylaws. But if I have to refer to my bylaws,
Very much.
Mark Mariscal. So looking on page 41, 42 of the document that HR Network gives you, two different things. One stands out and one is missing. I don't know if it's missing, so I'll refrain on that one, but I'll make a statement about it. But on the back page of 42, meeting with board president, and it talks about the meeting at 12 to 8, and update, so they haven't done an update yet. But just a note that after that, when they finally say that it's a closed or update, theoretically in your bylaws, it calls for a board member that does anything outside of the board meeting that, not with the library director, but something else of some kind of reporting. And I don't know if HR Networks would be that you would then report openly to, what the discussion was. And maybe you did, and I missed it in January, but just in case, I just wanted to throw that. And then I have a question that, would HR Networks, and they're not here, I don't think, right? There's nobody.
No.
If there was any kind of investigation that they would do for sexual misconduct or harassment or any of that, would that show up in the report? I'm just curious. You don't have to answer that today, but you would just think that if there was, and they do that kind, because if that's what the kind of work that they do, I would just think that that kind of update should be in the report that they give for the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for your comments. Would any board member like to pull anything from the consent calendar for additional consideration?
Do we want to look at item 7, the Board of Trustees meeting calendar? My understanding is that one of the dates for that falls on Memorial Day. So I don't know if that needs to be pulled. It's 45.
Actually pull this one, say, revise it, bring it back to the correct date.
Can't hear you, by the way.
Motion to remove the.
Okay, can you hear, can't hear you.
Another mic.
Yeah, we have one.
Motion to remove item 7A off the consent calendar, Board of Trustees meeting calendar for 2018. And the reason is that the proposed schedule has the date of May 28, 2018, which is Memorial Day, so we're not going to plan to meet on Memorial Day. We'll take this off, my motion to take it off, and then we'll come back to it next month. We'll bring back with a revised Board of Trustees meeting schedule.
Okay, so you don't have to make a motion, it's just pulled. We'll put it under item number 8 for consideration of items from the consent calendar and address it at that point. Any others? No others? Can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Can I have a second? I don't know, mic not working. Second, all in favor, or discussion? Any? None, all in favor, say aye. Aye. opposed? The motion passes. Consent calendar is adopted as amended. Item number 8, consideration of items removed from the consent calendar. Board of Trustees meeting for May 28th. Would we like to discuss the new meeting date?
Yeah, we could meet the Monday prior to the holiday. If that works.
Monday prior to the holiday, May 21st, same time, same place. May I have a motion?
So the motion for the May 2018 meeting would be on May 21st, which is a Monday, same time, 5 p.m.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? None, the motion passes. The May 2018 meeting is rescheduled to May 21st at 5 p.m. at the Altadena Library District Community Room. Moving on to new business. Item number A is board member interviews and vote for potential new trustee. We have two public comments. Mark Mariscal.
And it's on. Mark Mariscal. So, for those of you that are here that are interviewing for the open position of the Board of Trustee, thank you and congratulations. I'm the president of the Friends of the Library. Although this part of the speaking is personal right now, but I just thank you for your commitment to the library and your interest in that. But I would also, because only one person can be seated tonight, the rest of you, we invite you to think about some work that the foundation does, that the Friends do. But more importantly, if you really have an interest, when the election opens up, and I don't know when it is, and I don't know if you guys have that info tonight, but filing is probably in July, because there's going to be 3 open seats, the one from tonight and then 2 others for November. So I would really encourage you, and I will tell you that the resumes, and I've talked with some other people that are not applying for the position, this is really a great group of candidates for tonight, and I say to you trustees, it's going to be a tough one. So then coming back to you, it would be nice to hear ahead of time how you might vote the process, because I don't know if you're going to do a ballot, read it out, or that kind of thing. So I don't know if you were going to say that ahead of time, but if you can, or even discuss it to decide how you're doing it, that would be good. And that's pretty much all I have for 9A. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Ann Showman.
So at the last meeting, I heard one of today's candidates speak about how he had watched the library being decimated over the past 3 years. And in his candidate statement, he mentions that he wants to rebuild the library and restore it somehow. This negative view surprised me in that I've witnessed the library become digital and modernize in other ways and take on an important, if not central, role in the community. I would hope that when it comes to voting for a new trustee, you appoint someone with a more positive view of the library, someone who supports what the library has accomplished over the last 3 years, and not someone who thinks that essentially the library is broken. With regard to the candidates you have before you, I'm pleased to see that you have some very well qualified candidates, including some with board experience. So I hope you choose someone who will look positively with the library, speak favorably of the library, and support its director. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Monica Hubbard.
I'm going to be echoing some of the things that you've just heard. At my church, I served for several years on a leadership team charged with training lay leaders in sound leadership practice. The first guideline the team created was, assume good intentions. When I started attending trustee meetings last October, I wanted to assume good intentions of this board. After observing all the regular and special meetings of this board, reading minutes, and a few documents obtained by NBBA through the Freedom of Information Act, I am no longer able to assume those good intentions. Tonight you will choose a new board member, and yet you never posted a job description or job expectations based on your vision of where you would like to see the library in 3 to 5 years. With no guidance to the amazing pool of candidates, what kind of criteria will you use to make your decision? What intellectual and community resources do you think are needed on this board? Are you seeking applicants who have time control so that they can represent the library at library and community functions and do more than just show up at trustee meetings? Will you be considering gender, as was mentioned before? What about ethnicity, age? Contrary to the perception that it appears you are trying to create in this community, this library is not broken. NBBA doesn't believe it, and the Altadena community that you purportedly represent does not believe it. If you believe that, then you have not been paying attention to the community and are out of touch with a wide swath of this town. When choosing a board member tonight, please choose someone who is supportive of all that has been accomplished in the last 3 years, someone who is enthusiastic and excited about what the future holds and wants to build on the strides the library has made in the last few years, someone who understands that the role of a trustee is to build up and not tear apart. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and also thank you for attending our meetings since October. Monica, you had put on your public comment something about conflict of interest, conflict of loyalty. That
Yes.
Would you like to speak to that now or at some other time?
That's fine. As board members, you are bound by law to avoid all conflicts of interest. As board members interested in upholding the highest standards of ethical behavior, you should also be avoiding what is called conflict of loyalty. Based on documents that NBBA has seen, I have a couple of questions. So Mr. Zambrano, as a lawyer for the Department of Justice, NBBA would like to know if you see any possible conflict of interest or perception of conflict of interest by your offering legal opinions related to library matters, either in regular meetings of the board, in special meetings of the board, or in emails to the board. Does the Department of Justice have its own rules about what legal opinions and counsel you, as a DOJ lawyer, may or may not offer to community organizations that you serve? Mr. McDonald, NBBA has noted with interest that in the last 9 months, you appear not to have revealed to the general Altadena public who your current employer is. Do you see any possible conflict that could arise because you are the Director of Product Management for EBSCO, a vendor contracted for many years to provide certain kinds of services to our library? Do you see that the public might have a perception of some kind of conflict of interest or conflict of loyalty because you have chosen to not reveal to the board or to the public that you left your career in academia to join EBSCO, a longtime vendor for the Altadena Library? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Just because there's been an undercurrent of this, primarily led apparently by Monica Hubbard, I do work for EBSCO Industries, which is a leading library information provider. I joined them June 1st of last year. EBSCO is the leading information provider for all libraries globally. EBSCO sells to every type of library. They sell all types of products. Monica left out that I'm the Director of Product Management among hundreds of directors of product management developing all different types of products. The best part of my job is that I don't have a product. I'm developing new products for analytics, so there's absolutely no conflict. My role is to develop analytic products for academic research libraries, not for public libraries. So there's absolutely no conflict, other than if my company decided to give a discount to Altadena Library. And I will say, asking Ryan, has EBSCO approached you and offered any kind of discounts because I've been hired by EBSCO?
They have not.
So you'll note, any NPR listeners, you'll note that NPR Morning Edition is underwritten by EBSCO Industries, just like they underwrite and participate in our broader information environment. In fact, they were an original signer of a pact among information vendors to oppose President Trump's elimination of the IMLS budget, which provides grants to public libraries, including ours. So I will say, Monica and anyone else that thinks there's a conflict, there is no conflict, and there also is no procedure to disclose conflict related to any board membership. I'll invite any other comments or questions about that. Should you have any? Yes.
This is the first board meeting that I've ever attended.
I can't hear her.
This is the first board meeting that I have ever
Speak
attended.
into the
Yeah,
microphone.
will you approach the podium?
Oh, sure. My name is Patricia Cunliffe. This is the first board meeting that I've ever attended, so I don't know you. After these comments, though, I am curious. When did you become a board member, and when did you start working with that company?
I was appointed as a board member in 2015, and I started working for the company in 2017.
Did it ever occur to you, perhaps, that maybe you should step down because of the nature of your new job?
No, it never occurred to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
With no further comments, we're going to move into the interviews for the vacant Board of Trustees seat. And I believe, according to the information packet, we'll go in alphabetical order, which Mr. Renee Amy must always love, because it's probably near the top. So, Renee, please approach the podium. We'd like to ask you for a quick statement on why you're interested in the board vacancy, and then you'll have some questions from the board.
Sure, Renee Amy. I'm here tonight for the third time in 18 months seeking a spot on the Altadena Library Board. So all of you on the board know a lot about me. A lot of folks in the audience know a lot about me because I'm somewhat of a community figure. I regularly communicate with about 10,000 people on Nextdoor.com. My opinions on a lot of things are well known throughout the community. My opinions on the library and its functioning are also well known to those in this room and to those in the community. I believe that the Altadena Library District is pretty much the treasure for the community. I believe it is the leading community organization. I believe it's a community center. I believe that we really don't believe in our public schools, unfortunately, in the Altadena community. There are some that are getting shut down because we believe in private schools. That's a shame. I come from a background where the community was centered on public schools. So now in Altadena, really, the community is centered around the library, and I think that's a wonderful thing. At the same time, folks have heard me vociferously disparage this board and its functioning and its lack of ability, its lack of training, its lack of following laws, and its seeming lack to even put together a calendar in a meaningful manner. I have suggested that those who feel unable to spend the time necessary to do the work that's necessary to be on the board should resign. And perhaps that's why I'm here tonight, because in betwixt and between, a vacancy occurred. It's weird that earlier speakers said the things they did about the role of this board. I didn't hear a board member thank the Friends for their generous donation. There's no reason you couldn't.
I apologize, you missed that. We did.
I didn't hear it. I heard it from the audience, but I didn't hear it from the board. And I think that's critically important because, yes, you know, you all have this lovely little document in your packet. It's 3 pages or so long. It's about the role of a library board. You've heard some of it already this evening. But what I've seen on this board and from this board is the antithesis of what this document suggests.
Renee, you're not making a convincing statement, so what do you like to get to the board?
Great,
And I
thank you.
apologize, so let's move into questions.
Sure.
What is the one thing, if appointed to the board, you would like to begin doing for the library and the community of Alton?
I'd like to see long-range planning occur as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I just wanted to clarify, we did thank the board, and you can review the tape. Perhaps you didn't hear it, but this is sometimes then you're spreading information that there was no thanks, yet when people up here heard the thanks, and you can review the tape. So maybe you have alternate facts, but there was thank you to the friends, so.
Great.
Just to clarify.
It's good to hear that.
I
It's
see
also.
your letter,
Sure.
excuse me, let me finish. Your letter to the board is dated September 15, 2016.
Yep.
Is there a reason why it's dated?
Yeah, it's the same application. I just routinely handed it in time after time after time. This is the 3rd time.
Any other questions?
You know, if I may, one last thought. Board members represent the community and should be representing the library district in the community. And it's weird that at the board meetings that I've attended, I haven't heard, and maybe I'm mistaken, I'll grant you that, but I haven't heard reports. The last meeting I attended, I heard no reports from board members about them going out into the community and representing the district, the library district, and explaining how they were acting as cheerleaders, essentially, for the library district. It's a critical role for board members, and it's a horrible thing that it's not happening.
Thank you.
Well, when I was board president, I was out in the community, and I established relationships with community relations with the sheriff's department and the California Highway Patrol. So we're out there. You might not realize it, but we are.
Well, it just seems like the board report time is a wonderful opportunity to let the public know that.
Well, you'll get to hear that, and we'll do that in the board meeting, that February 13th, I met with the captain of the sheriff's department, and our acting director, Ryan, was with me too. So, again, you may not know everything that the board does, but if you listen and come to the meetings, you'll hear it in our report. Thank you.
Thank you for your application.
Sherry
E.
Do you have a question? And just to let you know, because the last time you asked questions, you asked if I would be willing to again, and the answer is yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry E. Asplin?
Good evening. Hello, everyone. My name is Sherry Asplin, and I have lived in Altadena for 20 years. I retired last year after 35 years at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, so I have a little more free time now to get involved in the community. I have been part of some local efforts in the past. I'm a co-founder of Save the Altadena Trails, which we formed in 2002 to restore public access to some local trails in our area. I've also been on the board of what was the Altadena Foothills Conservancy, now it's the Arroyos and Foothills Conservancy, working to preserve open space in the Altadena area. I served for 9 years on a state board. It was the State Acupuncture Board, which is part of the Department of Consumer Affairs. So I'm familiar with the functioning of boards at the state level and how they should be run as far as all of the constraints. And I'm interested in getting more involved in the library. I've always come here and used the library. In fact, 2 years ago, during Women's History Month in March, I came and gave a presentation to young girls as part of a NASA-wide effort to try to engage folks in our local communities by people working at NASA all over the country. We had some adorable little children here. It was just so much fun in this room. So I'm interested in the library. I would like to help lead the effort to engage the community, to bring transparency to what's happening with the library, to bring integrity to the board and to its relations with the community and with the staff, and to just, be a positive influence in interactions with the other board members and with my community, my neighbors. I'm pretty active in my neighborhood. And so I just feel like I know a wide range of people, but certainly would love to meet more. I took part in one of the community conversations, and I'm just interested in bringing what I can contribute as far as my background at JPL was in education and outreach, so happy to help with the needs of the library and bring flexibility to what I can offer and to be part of the local community working to improve our library.
Thank you, Sherry. Given your experience and expertise in communication and outreach and marketing, what are some things that you think, just maybe off the top of your head, or you've been thinking about them, that the library could do better or differently, or in a different way, I guess, regarding those aspects of what the library is doing?
Well, it's always a challenge. No matter how many people you reach, you're always not reaching a whole lot more. Of course, with social media now, that plays a huge role. Everyone's in their various social medias, and I think the library is doing a good job with their newsletter. The second Saturdays, for example, for reaching more adults. I've been to some of those. They're a great thing. As far as, actually trying to reach more people, I think going out into the different communities, engaging people that come to the library, you may be doing more surveys, finding out what they think, how to get their neighbors more engaged, and just, going to the people, going to various types of community, different organizations meeting, neighborhood meetings, and just, finding people where they are and finding out, similar to what the community conversations did, and maybe following up even more on those.
Great. Other questions for Sherry?
Sherry, can you just speak to us a little bit about, you talked about some of your boards. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, gee whiz. You spoke about some of your boards that you have already been on. Are there any current terms, positions that you're on at this time?
No, I'm not.
And does that affect any of your?
No, I'm not on any other board at this time.
Thank you so much.
I have the same question. I wanted to see if you had any time constraints if you're sitting on other boards right now.
No, I'm not.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sherry?
Okay, thank you for your application.
Okay, thank you.
John R. Benson. Is John Benson here? Ryan, do you know where he is?
I've not heard from anyone that they would be.
Okay, well, in case he's just stepped out, we'll move John Benson to the end of the list. William F. Burke.
From any of the candidates wouldn't be able to.
Okay. So Mr. Burke will move down to the on the list. Katie E.G. Clark. Thank you, Ms. Clark. Please give us a little bit of an introduction about why you're interested in the board seat.
Okay. So my name is Katie Clark, and I've lived in Altadena for 9 years. And I'm here because one of the earliest
positive memories that I have is in a library. I remember being probably 5 or 6 years old and camping out cross-legged in the stacks until my mom said, okay, really, we've got to go home. It's a serious problem. You've been here for hours. And that was a consistent feature of my childhood. It's probably what drove me into a career in higher education. And one of the things I've enjoyed so much since I moved to Altadena was seeing what a center for the community the library here is, and what fantastic work it does to bring people together, to provide access to information, but even more than that, to provide a hub, to provide a home for so many important conversations and experiences. And so, in looking at what can happen with the library, how we can build on some of the fantastic things that have happened in the last 5, 10 years, one thing that I think is really important is something that other candidates and that Jan mentioned earlier. It's this idea of public trust, public confidence, and it's really about relationships, right? It's about having a positive relationship between the library, between the board, and the community, having a relationship where everybody agrees that, you know, this is an institution we all love, and we want to make it better. How do we do that? Well, I think there are a couple ways. One is certainly the development of a strategic plan that takes into account some of the challenges that come at us in the coming years. What do we do? What are we looking at? How are we going to meet those challenges in a way that builds on what's already been done? Another thing that we do is we utilize the resources we already have. The community conversations that have taken place are a fantastic starting place. There are action items, there are recommendations, there are things that can happen right now and that are happening right now, and those should be wrapped in. So between the development of a strong strategic plan, building positive relationships with the community, both inside the library and outside of it, I think we then start to engage with a larger group of people who can come to see just how fantastic this library is, which is something that I know everybody in this room already knows.
Thank you. Any questions for Katie?
What boards do you serve?
So I currently serve on 2 boards that are both related to something that was a major turning point in my life, and that is the Marshall Scholarship, which is a scholarship funded by the British government to send outstanding graduate students from U.S. universities to study in the United Kingdom. So I'm the chairman of the local regional selection committee board for Los Angeles. That includes Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, Hawaii, and parts of Utah. So we select a number of candidates in conjunction with the Consul General here in Los Angeles. And then I'm also a member of the Ambassadors Advisory Council. So we convene once a year in Washington, D.C. with Her Majesty's Ambassador to the United Kingdom to advise on how we can better promote the special relationship through education.
Were those the 2 separate boards, or was
Yeah,
that
they're 2
one
separate
board?
organizations, yeah.
Okay, great.
How about time restraints for you, and can you just speak to that?
Absolutely. So I am the proud owner of 2 small businesses. And what that means is that I have a lot of control over my own schedule. It also means I'm a busy person, but I'm happy to report that this is the first year we've actually started hiring employees. Things are going really well, so I've had more time, actually. And one thing I thought about really seriously is how that would look. I'm absolutely planning, no matter what happens tonight, I'm absolutely planning to run for one of the seats in the upcoming election, and I take that commitment very seriously.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for your application. Next is Anthony V. Costanzo. Hi. Can you give us just a quick introduction about why you're interested in the board vacancy?
Sure. So my name is Tony Costanzo, and about 20 years ago, my wife and I decided that we're going to buy a home and raise a family, and we chose Altadena for all sorts of reasons, probably the same reasons that you all chose to live in Altadena. And we bought a home not too far from here on Fair Oaks, and this is where we've raised our children. I grew up in libraries. Back then, obviously, we didn't have the internet. So we went to the library. That's where we learned. That's where we entertained ourselves. That's what we grew up with. So our two daughters were also raised in this library. This is where we brought them up. We spent a lot of time here. We still spend a lot of time here. But now that they're older, I've had some free time of my own to give back. And that's what I want to do, is give back to the community that has given to our children. And I don't have to tell anybody here this, but we have a real jewel in this library. All we have to do is go to neighboring libraries around us, and this really is one heck of a library. Like I said, it did a lot for my daughters, and now that they're getting a little bit older, I have some time available to give back. I do have board experience, so I'm familiar with being on a board. My most recent board experience was the St. Vincent de Paul Society, a community-based nonprofit that also gives back to the community. Regarding time constraints, like I said, I have more time now than I've had before, except for Wednesday nights. my wife still does work.
Well, you'll be happy to know that we normally meet on Monday. Any questions for me?
I can't recall the experience now, the job, title.
Oh, I'm an attorney.
Would you see any conflict in being an attorney and sitting on a board?
Well, actually, not the type of attorney that I am. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I don't think that we're going to have any conflict with anything that crosses people's lives that come to our library.
Most people think of attorneys as just being every type of attorney, right?
Right.
Like librarians being every type of librarian.
Yeah, not me. I do one type of law, and it's a type of law that I don't think anybody in this room would ever need advice on. Thank you.
Thank you for your application. When, do you have another question? No. Okay, thank you. Up next, David Herman.
Hello, folks. Doing well, thank you.
So, Dave, can you give us a brief introduction about why you're interested in the board vacancy?
Okay. I'm a huge fan of the libraries. I'm a huge fan of libraries. Likewise, had experience growing up with them and having them be a major part of my life. Working here with the Friends, with the foundation, and with the employees has been a positive overall experience. The last 3 years, we have done some beautiful things with this library, but what folks don't seem to understand is there's been a huge cost to these beautiful changes we've seen. Costs to the employees, to the Friends, to the foundation. I invite community members to speak with former foundation board members who have left recently. Invite them to speak with friends who are currently on the Friends and who have left the Friends recently. I would invite them to speak with employees who are currently working here and who have worked here in the past to get a full understanding of what really the costs have been here. I'm very enthusiastic about the library and our future. I see that we have a good opportunity now to reach out, bring the community, bring the Friends, the foundation, the trustees, the employees back together, working together to do something special for our library and to get this thing moving again with the renovations we need to do.
Thank you. Any questions for Dave?
Thanks, David. The comments about you that came in here were very disparaging.
Yes.
Were very unfair.
Yes.
Being the past board president, I can very much relate to it. And unfortunately, there's a lot, people don't have full information. And what people don't realize that you were the head of the parcel tax committee. And the parcel tax, which people may not realize, provides a third of the revenue for this library. And people should be thanking you, kissing your feet probably. Because
Bring them out, we'll kiss them. We'll kiss anything you want us to.
I know it's a community
I
effort.
appreciate that, but
It was very, you were the president of the foundation when a couple of very large grants.
Do you have a question for him?
Exactly.
Or are you just gonna defend him?
Please, everybody, please.
We're waiting for the
It's
question.
totally
John,
inappropriate.
Yeah.
Ask a question.
Just like we're admonished on Nextdoor, remember these are your neighbors.
Yes.
Treat everybody civilly.
Ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay. Other questions?
Let's just talk about, what is it that, about the whole thing of this library that really, what's your passion about this library? What's your passion?
my wife's family came from Hungary. She was born in the United States, but they didn't speak English in the household for the first 5 years until she got to go to school. And libraries were the way they learned, integrated, and grew. And so I know the value of the libraries from that experience. My wife passed away in 2011, and one of the things I wanted to do to honor her has been to be an active part of our library and help our community and make sure that we have a library that serves everyone in our community, people who have access and people who don't have access, have means of wealth to grow. They have the family structure, and to help those who don't have such a structure, who are.
Appreciate that. Some of the things we didn't even know about you. But what about your time restraints?
I am retired.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dave. Thank you for your application. Next is Betsy Kahn.
Good evening. My name is Betsy Kahn. I suppose you want me to make a statement?
Yes, please tell us a little bit about why you're interested in working.
I'm a library professional. I've been a school librarian for 18 years, including 6 right here in PUSD. I was a public library employee for 5 years. I ran an adult literacy program very similar to the one you have here. So I'm very well-versed in how libraries run, both public and educational libraries. I've been a member of the American Library Association since 1996. And I'm an Uber patron. I have 8 library cards in my wallet. I go to work in the library, and I stop at libraries on my way home. When we travel, my husband changes the subject when he sees a sign coming up that says there's a library. And I'll stop the car and make us go in. I've had experience on boards. I served 6 years on a public library board. I served 10 years on the board of the Children's Literature Council of Southern California, which is made up of librarians, authors, parents, teachers who promote children's literature. And I served as the president of that board for 2 years. I'm fairly new to Altadena, but I've lived in this area for 16 years. I'm a member of Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. I'm bilingual in Spanish. And I feel that I have some leadership qualities that could be of use in this situation. I'm an excellent communicator. I write very well. Very, very comfortable with public speaking. Very good listener. I think that's important. But I have content knowledge. I have professional knowledge of libraries and how they run. I come to board and other community groups with a service orientation and with a consensus orientation and a problem-solving orientation. So I'm good at analysis, I'm good at synthesis. And one thought that occurred to me in preparing for tonight was to think about, I mean, librarians aren't normally competitive types, that's not kind of who we are. But in a way, a library is in competition with other very good organizations. We're in competition for tax money. We're in competition for donations. We're in competition with funders that we might be looking to for grant funding. And so we have to make our case for why we deserve a seat at those tables. And I think probably the best way to put the way that I think my approach is that I would bring passionate expertise to this board.
Thank you. Any questions for Betsy?
Just the same question about whether you have any time constraints that would impact your ability to serve on.
Well, I'm no longer on any boards right now. I am a working school librarian in South Pasadena. I work at South Pasadena Middle School. So bells do ring for me. But it's a fairly flexible schedule, and my 3 children are grown, so I do, as many of the other comments that I heard, I do have a lot more time than I used to.
So Betsy, as a librarian, and just your knowledge of the Altadena Library as a patron, what are some of the things that you think, from your expertise, you can apply to the board here to help the Altadena Library District grow?
Well, the first thing I want to say is, as an Uber patron, this library rocks. It really does. I mean, I go to a lot of other libraries, and I do feel like what has been done here has brought this library right up to the forefront of what's going on. One thing that I've done in my work at my school, I work in a school where 300 to 400 kids walk through my door every day, and those are my Uber patrons. But recently at our school, we had the introduction of Chromebook carts so that nobody needs to compete to come to my lab anymore. So suddenly, there were a lot of kids that I would never see. And so I had to think of ways to reach out to patrons who might never walk through my door. And I think that is something I see this library in the process of doing, raising its sort of digital presence in the community to be able to provide services regardless of whether people are actually here, because people are busy, and I feel like we need to reach them wherever they are.
Quick question though. How many, well, I'm not really sure if you're the only librarian there, and do you have others that are helping you or that support you, that you might work with?
In my job.
In the job.
I'm the only librarian. I'm not only the only librarian at my school. I'm the only middle school librarian I ever meet. So I catalog, I purchase, I check out, I inventory, I do everything, which is hard, I gotta say. But also it means that I know how to do all those things. So I know how to do it.
But student aid.
Oh yeah, I do have student. I have a half-time assistant. Parents make the place run. Yeah. So there's a lot of marshaling of different well-meaning people who want to help, just like I'm sure is what's happening.
And how about leadership in that area with the volunteers that you have that want to work with you, either just training or whatever?
Oh yes, yeah, I do a parent training every year. I'm training my library aides all the time. I'm training my teachers to be willing and able to work with me, certainly training my students.
So Gwen, in a way, asked what my question was going to be, which is that school librarians are the most endangered of all librarians, especially middle school librarians.
Can I just say, I did mention I worked for Pasadena Unified for 6 years. They laid everyone off in 2010, so that's why I don't anymore.
Yeah. So maybe not having known that you had that experience, but wanting to know about how you, in a way, prove your value to your organization to sort of justify your continued existence. I think, you know, public libraries everywhere in our nation, especially in our time now, have to do that as well. And you obviously have had that experience. What are the techniques and strategies you've used that have been successful?
Well, like you, when I walked in and saw that 1-inch thick board packet, I go out for a lot of statistics. You know, I mean, I say I have 300, 400 kids who walk through my door. That's because I count, you know, there's a way that I count them. I think, you know, the board, well, you need to be accountable for what you provide. So you say you provide a certain amount of service or a certain kind of service or a certain level or volume of service, you have to be able to show the results of that. And I think, I mean, one advantage about digital services is in a way that they can be a lot easier to document and to count. So, it's, you know, it's a very wide range of things that you need to be demonstrating that you do. Some of it is surveys, some of it is, you know, just numbers of people that use things. Some of it is, you know, just how the collection is being grown and what things are being circulated and what things aren't. I know that weeding is always a big issue in the library. That's really hard. You know, books are, I mean, we love books, we're librarians, but some books you gotta get rid of. That's just how it is. So there, you know, we depend on professionally trained people who know how to run a library to make those decisions and back them up. But I think that kind of professional background on a board like yours would really help. I gather you're a librarian as well, Mr. McDonald, but you know, somebody in the trenches who's doing it every day, I think, can bring a perspective on operations. If nothing else.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for your application.
Thank you.
Can you guys still go? So we still do have a couple of candidates, but we need to take a 5-minute break. So we will recess until 6:37. Thank you.
Did you? Good. I still have
Yeah.
Okay, thanks everybody. We're just making a microphone place at the podium to try to avoid feedback. We'll go back into session. And our next candidate is Stephen S. Lamb.
He's not here.
Stephen S. Lamb is not here. Okay. Francie Levine Grader. Francie's not here. Susan Savage Schwartz. Now it's too tall for you. Thank you, Susan. Will you give us one so you can get the microphone?
Not my area.
We got help coming. So can you give us a brief introduction to yourself and why you're interested in the board vacancy? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, did I say Susan?
Yes.
Susan, okay, great.
Okay, the mic's not on too.
For these, you have to speak a little closer.
Right
for it.
into the
There you go.
My name is Susan Savage Schwartz, and I've lived in this community for coming up on 19 years. Like Tony, I've raised two daughters here, and so the library is our home library. I am really actually very thrilled, but not surprised to see the amount of passion that everyone feels for this library, our library. And also very pleased to see the level of expertise and qualifications of the candidates here tonight. So I am reassured that going forward, this library will be in good hands over time as whoever ends up being chosen tonight. My own interest in serving the library is not new. I worked on the parcel tax campaign with Dave Herman and others. I have certainly been involved in programs here at the library, either as a speaker or in bringing programs to the library from my organization that I work with, Pasadena Education Network, PEN. So I really I value this library in particular as being very much the heart of this community, and also because I think this is a time when the importance of information, of having an informed citizenry, of having shared space and place to learn and to get to know each other and to access resources, informational and cultural, is more important than ever. And I also, just for myself, I feel that I bring an ability to listen and thoughtfulness. I'm comfortable speaking in public. I do that in my work with Pasadena Education Network. And I like connecting the dots. I like building relationships. I like finding ways to engage with the community. I've been pleased, as I've been doing that with PEN this summer, to see library staff out in the community at the farmers market, reading to kids, doing things out beyond these walls and beyond the walls of the Lucas branch. So, yeah.
Thank you. Questions for Susan? I have a question about your position as program director for Pasadena Education Network. Do you feel like there would be any type of conflict related to that by participating in official capacity with the board here, or would it possibly be a point of opportunity to collaborate more strongly?
Well, we have collaborated, and I can't think why it would be a conflict. I'm thinking about it now as you say it, because you said it. PEN is an independent nonprofit. It's a very small grassroots group that has been around for about 12 years in serving the communities that are served by PUSD, but it is independent of PUSD. So our mission is really information and getting parents to look at the schools and know what their public school options are, be able to navigate those options, connect with families who have kids in the schools. So it's more about information and communication, and I'm, as other people have mentioned, very pleased to see the library doing a lot more with that now in terms of the newsletter, the kinds of programs, the community conversations, and so I think if anything, it is an opportunity to collaborate.
Thank you.
Susan, how about any restraints when it comes to timing of the board and when you're meeting? Sometimes they might go even late in the evening.
Probably not as late as school board meetings. like Tony, I have children who are growing up, one that will be off to college next year and one who's just finished, so I do have more time on my hands. My pen work is part-time. I have served on PTA boards in the community, including right over here at Elliott, but I'm not currently serving on any other boards, so I think it would not be a problem.
With your pen work, getting the information out into the people, does it ever go the other way towards PUSD, towards the board, or the schools as well?
Absolutely, yes. Penn has about 1,500 families who are members. It's a free membership. It's just, they get our newsletter. But because we know families across the district, so some of those people have kids in the schools all over the district, and some of them are just considering their options. But because we know so many families across Pasadena, Altadena, and Sierra Madre, we hear things. We hear about what's going on around the district and the schools, and when we hear something is happening, at more than one place, or there are concerns or questions that people have, we do bring that back to the district, to board members, to staff, so that happens quite a lot.
Other questions for Susan? Thank you for your education, Susan. Next is Stephen B. Svedis. Hopefully I got your name close to being correct. Perfect. Great. Thank you for your application. Can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us why you're interested in the board vacancy?
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. My name is Stephen Svedis. I'm an attorney with the California Attorney General's Office. I've been an Altadena resident for about a year, and I live here with my wife, and it's Amanda. She's in the back. She's a middle school music teacher at Wilson Middle School, part of the Glendale Unified School District. So, regarding why I'm interested in this position, why I applied, I think my experience with libraries is very similar to Katie's, in that I grew up in a library like she did. And my little anecdotal experience was, my mom would take me to libraries for readings when I was, as long as I can remember, up until I was about 5 years old. And I remember the very last time she took me was right before I started kindergarten. She was crying in the car, and I asked her, "Mom, why are you crying?" And she said, my little boy is growing up right before my eyes. And I always associated that with libraries because it's like I grew up in the library, and she associated the library with me growing up. And then fast forward a couple of years, I was in middle school, and we had reading assignments. We had to go get books, and I went to a private school. My mom was an Italian immigrant, and so the Catholic faith is very strong in our family. And so I was sent to Catholic schools, and they don't provide books like you get at public schools, unfortunately. So when I got assignments, I had to go to the library to rent a book or to research the assignment. So I knew from a young age how important a library was to the community, how critical it was to developing our future community members and our leaders. And I'd like to think that the local library in Glendale, where I grew up, developed a leader in me. So regarding why I'm qualified for the position, I did look over the agendas for the last 6 months, the bylaws, and I've heard everyone's very thoughtful comments today. And it seems like even though the library looks fantastic, it's beautiful, we have this beautiful new building, and it definitely is an integral part of the community that a lot of people come to and take advantage of the services that are offered. There are also some issues, and I think some aspects of my education and my background could be very helpful in resolving some of those issues. First off, I know that there's a lot of financial issues with the library. I have a degree in real estate finance and development from the Marshall School of Business at USC. After I finished that program, I went to law school, got a JD, became a lawyer, and I also got a master's in dispute resolution. And I think that's really critical here. The courses in that program really focus on building rapport with people, developing yourself as a member of a group, and figuring out how you get below the line. And what I mean by that is figuring out what are people's real, true interests in how to resolve a conflict or make something better. And I think that's something that I can bring to the table here, and how to hear members of the community, hear what's important to them, and how to get below the line to figure out what their interests are, and how to, in turn, make the board better and make the library better for everybody. As far as my work experience, I was an attorney in private practice for about 3 years, and then I became a public servant attorney. So first, with the Department of Corrections, I worked in employee discipline, so I have extensive experience in matters concerning just public sector employees, so anywhere from corrective action all the way up to dismissing them, obviously after investigations for cause. But I realize they're all entitled to due process, and I understand that the employees here would also be entitled to that type of due process. I worked very briefly at Caltrans, where I handled specific civil litigation relating to employment matters, EEO, equal opportunity employment matters, retaliation, discrimination complaints, and I specifically represented executive officers of our local Caltrans district in a very significant civil action relating to an employment issue. So I come to the table with a lot of civil litigation experience. And finally, most recently, I've been working at the Attorney General's office dealing with license disciplines. So anybody that has a state license, generally anybody, my section represents 35 to 40 different state agencies, and we provide the licensees with their due process, and we prosecute those cases and take action against them when needed. And the reason why that's extremely relevant to this position is it involves, on a daily basis, giving recommendations to boards and bureaus within the state of California, talking to executive officers and advising them on both litigation strategy and sometimes just general strategy and how to effectively manage what's on their plate at any given point in time. As far as my board experience, unfortunately I don't have any, but you have to start somewhere. And I would just specifically point to my experience advising boards, both in my current position and then also back at CBCR. I worked with wardens in determining levels of employee involvement. When we were making our recommendations, we were making them directly to the warden of any particular institution. So I think that will really come into play here. As far as my personality, I'm a litigator by trade, so I definitely feel comfortable talking to a large crowd. I just recently gave a presentation to over 200, I believe they were licensed vocational nursing students, and last February it was over 500 registered nursing students. So I'm comfortable talking in front of a large crowd, and because of my background with dispute resolution, I'd like to think that I'm personable and a good listener, and that I'm able to build rapport with people that I'm working with, both on the board and then also in the community. And finally, I would point to my litigation instincts. I think they're very good, that I generally know how to evaluate a matter that's put in front of me, and I know, whether it's best to go forward and fight or whether it's best to pursue settlement at all costs. I've developed that skill early on, both in my experience and my education.
Thank you. Any questions for Stephen?
I'm just going to make a comment, just for full disclosure. So my office is probably the largest law firm in the nation. We probably have close to 1,000 attorneys in California. We have easily over 900, but my section has about 35 in Los Angeles, and Stephen says is one of the attorneys. However, we have 5 teams. We're that big. I am a supervisor, and I supervise a team that's completely separate from Stephen. I do not work. I don't supervise or oversee or direct any of his work. Just want to make that clear.
Thank you. So maybe along those same lines and from prior questions, do you see any conflict in being an attorney and serving on this board?
I don't, because it's my understanding that the board would always hire its own outside attorneys to advise them on any specific legal issues. And at that point, I think the board would just be advantaged by having me on the board and my own background. I wouldn't be making legal recommendations or giving legal advice, but I would just be using my own legal knowledge and my legal background to decide what I think is in the best interest of the board and of the library.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for your application. And last but not least, Joe Walsh. You're probably used to going last alphabetically as well, right? So can you give us a brief introduction to yourself and why you're interested in the board vacancy?
Sure. My name is Joe Walsh, and I've been living in Altadena for almost 19 months now. 19 exciting months. Moved here from the East Coast. My wife accepted a position at the Pasadena Waldorf School, and I'd never even been to California, so it's been pretty amazing. But one of the first places we went was the library, and we were just blown away by the staff and the community feeling and all the things you could do there, and that was even before the remodel, and now it's like super library. But anyway, I've been an advocate for libraries my whole life. I feel like since I was a little kid, my mom would send us out, to the library, similar to everyone else here who has those library memories. But I spent most of my time at the Philadelphia Central Branch Library, which I thought was the coolest library in the world. But it was big and imposing, but it wasn't nearly as cool as the Altadena Library in terms of personal touch and ability to just walk up and talk to somebody. That being said, I feel like this room tonight, there's so many different undercurrents of things going on, and I'm really intrigued by getting to the bottom of some of that. There's a lot of passion in the room. You can feel it, but it seems a little scattershot right now. Anyway, I've worked on a number of boards in the past, and I don't have any obligations right now other than taking care of the kids. And I just love coming into the library. I always have, a ton of books out. I love all my interactions with the staff, and I'm very detail-oriented, and I like to really get granular on some things, and I think that would be something useful, for the board, for this position on the board. I don't really know much about, all the. I don't bring anything with me about all the other, situations going on, so I don't have anything to, I don't have an agenda or an action plan at this point. So.
In the interest of full disclosure.
Yeah. Although I do have one late library book right now. No fine.
Board members. Any questions for Joe?
Joe, you said you had board experience. What kind of board?
I worked on the Hemophilia Foundation of Michigan board for a number of years. The Cascade Hemophilia Consortium, both of those boards were in Michigan, and Philadelphia Waldorf School Board of Trustees. That's all of them.
Any other questions, Joe?
Yes. My name is, you have no time constraints. Thank you so much.
Kids can be a great time consumer, but with enough planning. Yes. Prior proper planning. Thank you, Joe. Just in case our previously absent applicants are here, is John R. Benson in the room, William F. Burke, Stephen S. Lamb, Francie Levine Grader. Okay, so we're going to proceed, and as a...
Before you proceed, I just want to make a statement, and I probably am totally out of line, but, bear with me, okay? Thank you so much for everyone who has put in an application. You brought such a wealth of information here, and you have such wonderful strengths and abilities. And I certainly hope that, however this turns out, that you will really think about being a part of this library in some way or another. There's a wonderful foundation, and we need people to help with that, because we need to get on with the renovations that need to occur here. And some of you have those kinds of skills that we really do need. The Friends, of course, is there too. And then, it's already been said, there's 3 seats that's going to be up in November. And so hopefully somebody will run for those. Thank you so much for all of you being here this evening. Wonderful audience. Thank you.
I'll echo the same comments by Glenn. Thank you. It's great to see the community come out, not just tonight, but other times, and people interested in getting involved in our library. Our library is doing great, but we can make it greater. So thank you for
Okay, thank you. A couple of points of procedure before we move on to voting. We heard tonight and also in some social media outlets that the board was expected to provide a list of roles and responsibilities. Those do exist. We do not issue a set of qualifications for running for the board. This is a public service opportunity, so we do not limit anybody by clearly defining you must have this qualification or that qualification. So just as a point of clarification, that's typical procedure. When I ran for the board, it was the same thing. When Armando, Ira, and Gwen ran for the board, that was all the same thing. So we appreciate everybody asking for us to have issued a set of qualifications that we were looking for, but that would have been totally inappropriate.
In fact, the questionnaire, everything's been the same for years, same thing.
Yeah. So we've also been urged, or the community has been urged to attend this meeting to witness the deliberations of the board related to the appointment of the new trustee. There will be no deliberations of the board. The board does not discuss the applicants in advance. We were given the applications at the same time that the board package was issued. So the community got the applications at the same time the board did. There will be no deliberations, so each board member can vote independently without being influenced by anybody else. So I'm not exactly sure what people thought was going to be deliberated, but there will be no deliberations among the board. There have been no deliberations among the board about any of the candidates. Like I just said, every single member of the board votes independently and on a closed ballot, and we issue those to our administrative assistant who will read out the results. So there is no discussion about who anybody is voting for. There has not been any discussion. These are the same procedures that have existed at least since I've been on the board and probably since Gwen has been on the board. The procedures for voting then, each trustee will vote. We have a ballot with all the names on it. We will vote for who our preferred candidate is based on our own decision about the qualifications of each candidate and the roles and responsibility and what's needed for the board. We need 3 votes to elect a trustee. Should the first ballot not result in 3 votes, then we will have a runoff election of the voted 4 board members until we elect someone or result in a deadlock of some kind. We don't expect that to happen. I don't believe that's ever happened in the past. These are not secret ballots, but we do not read who the trustees voted for at any stage during the voting, so as not to influence the votes of the other trustees. They are a matter of public record, though. With that, may I have a motion to vote?
Can I have a point of clarification on your statement?
Yes, sir.
So I'll talk loud, hopefully you can pick me up. Mark Mariscal. So the statement on the vote, I just want to make sure that I understood it. You're going to take a vote. Someone's going to read them without the trustee name, and then if it's 4 different names, then you're going to start all over with a page that still has all of the names on there, right? That's that. And then the second thing is, are you going to vote for any people? Are the candidates that did not make it still eligible for a vote? Those two things. If you could. Thanks.
Yes. So great question, Mark. Thank you for that clarification. All the candidates are still eligible to be voted for, whether they made a statement or not tonight.
The ballot has 13 names on it, so the 13 names that are on the agenda.
Yeah.
That's for the first round. The second round, we'll look down.
So just also as a point of clarification, as we asked when we found the third candidate wasn't here, when we had the date change for this meeting, the library administration did contact every candidate and asked if the date still worked for them, and we did not get any cancellation. So everybody that had sent in an application is on this list, and they're eligible to be voted in. We have actually cleared all of our voting procedures with LA County Council, and the stated procedure is to have a runoff election. So the candidates that receive no votes, of which there's a possibility of 9, will be removed from the ballot, and then if there were 3 or 4, even 2, will go on to a runoff election until someone's appointed.
Clarification, man, I'm sorry. That one just surprised me. So you're saying that if somebody doesn't in the first round not get at least 1 vote, they're eliminated?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, we did go over the voting procedures with LA County Council, so that's all been approved as standard procedure. So may I have a motion to proceed to voting? Second. All in, discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Proceed to issue a vote. Please give your vote to Kylan. And how many votes?
So I have 1 vote for Betsy Kahn, 2 votes for David Herman, and 1 vote for Stephen Fedek. I don't know if I said that right, sorry.
Okay, so then let's proceed to a second vote with the candidates David Herman, Betsy Kahn, and Stephen Fedek.
So I have 1 vote for David Herman, 1 vote for Stephen.
Okay, we'll proceed to a 3rd round of voting.
Two Betsy Kahn, 1 Stephen Fedek, and 1 David Herman.
That's cool.
Does anybody want to ask any questions of the remaining candidates? Go to an additional round of. Kylan, do you have more paper? Even just the public. Can you get more than this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a couple-minute break until Kylan can bring more
stays like that.
Then nobody would be appointed tonight.
And then they come back, the same three people would come back the next, or whatever.
No, not necessarily. So, yeah.
Well, you have the option of still just going to the election. I mean, just saying, make an election. I mean, you're on break, so that's why I'm yelling.
So we can, so good point, and, I'm speaking not actually knowing if this is the extremely letter of the law procedure for this, so we would have to clarify that. LA County Council did not give me any instruction on if there was a deadlock, but we could declare a deadlock at any point. There are options after that, including what Mark said, which is leave the position vacant until the next election.
Look at the great opportunity we have
Hey, that'll be a plan.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your envelope.
Should I make it to your attention?
No,
How are you? Good to see you again. Okay, I will. Third,
yes, you come too.
Yeah.
We just like to
Oh, yeah, we met him earlier. So we're joining.
Oh, well, Brandon.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
No. Well, no, not exciting. No.
Okay, we'll go back into session to vote. Our candidate, everybody, trustees, please mark your ballot and give it to Kylan.
So we have 3 for Betsy Kahn.
Yes, I want to thank all the candidates. I think it's a testament to everybody's qualifications. and also passion. Glenn already made the statement as well, but I wanted to reiterate that the quality of the candidates were outstanding, and obviously we had a hard time choosing. So we thank all of you for your interest in the board, and ask that you stay involved with the library and possibly join one of our support organizations. And as was noted earlier, we will have multiple vacancies on the board at the next election, the next general election in November, for 3 open seats. And as a point of clarification, this position was to fill out the vacancy of former trustee Adelila Salada Garcia, who happened to be a lawyer as well, and just until the next election. So we will proceed to the swearing in of the candidate. So Betsy, will you come forward? You're still here. Swearing in, yes. Acting Director Ryan Roy will swear Betsy in.
So I have a little thing to read here. I, Ryan Roy, Acting District Director of the Altadena Library District, do hereby certify that Betsy Kahn was duly appointed as a member of the Altadena Library District Board of Trustees on March 7th, 2018, for the unexpired term ending December 2020. Witness my hand this...
Sorry, 2018. So,
Well, honestly, the position was running, but because of the timing, this position will have to run in this one.
Yes. So her term ends in 2020, but will have to be up for election in 2018. Witness my hand at this 7th day of March, 2018.
For the office of Altadena Library District Board of Trustees, I, Betsy Kahn, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Okay, our next item of business on the agenda is 9B, compensation adjustment for acting district director. As a point of clarification, our bylaws call for an appointment of an acting director upon a significant vacancy or leave for the district, the seated district director. We did that in January, and it also called for appropriate compensation. So we're now taking that action. So may I have a motion to propose a compensation adjustment for the acting district director?
Point of,
Oh, I'm sorry, I had you here, and I apologize. So we do have public comment from Mark Mariscal.
Mark Mariscal. So I think what I said earlier in the meeting when we were talking about the adoption of the agenda, and no disrespect to Ryan at all, because he probably deserves, or not probably, he does deserve, because he really is doing 2 jobs, and, you know, I try to stay really away from him, except, you know, again, it's tough.
You've done a poor job of it, Mark.
And so, but I would say this, you don't have a written board report, and really take action. We don't even know what the action is. I mean, are you saying you're gonna give them $20,000 more? There's nothing here. And then the other thing is, and you're probably gonna hear about this later, unfortunately, and I hope it doesn't come to this, but, and it's not me at all, I'm just from people talking, it was possible that the Mindy contract extension, or whatever that was called, was done in a special meeting, and there was a law change, and I don't know if Steve or Armando can speak on it, but just from law, is that any compensation and the hiring of a director needs to be done at your regular meetings, not at specials, not at emergencies. It all had to do with the 2013 all the PERS and all the legal changes. So to then reset a salary, and again, I believe this is more of a special meeting, but you can run all these things because you have regular set meetings. So I would just caution you that the public doesn't know what it is you're proposing, because it's not a board report, and your next meeting is set for the fourth Monday of this month, and you can retroactively compensate him back to the date that you appointed him. So I would really heavily suggest that you hold that one item and do it with a report, and then make it retroactive.
And make sure he gets a lot of money.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Just to add to what Mark was saying, that the two things we need for an internal document, we might need to switch that up. We would need to note in our personnel action form the salary change, and we would need to note an effective date. If that's something that needs to be in the board package, then that's up to the board to.
Okay, great. So can I have a motion to make a compensation adjustment for acting district director? So that's in the motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah.
I'd like to motion that Brian Roy, the acting director, receive an additional stipend of $1,000 per month for being the acting director, retroactive to the date he was appointed, I believe it was in January.
Can I have a second?
Yeah.
That's not really a lot, he's doing a good job.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I want to know, is that comparable to what the other director was receiving? If not, it should be being paid the same amount, because he's not only doing the duties that Mindy was doing, but he's also doing the duties of his own title, so he deserves at least what Mindy was doing.
To that end, I'm prepared to answer that.
And so was I, but
Do you want to take it away?
No, please answer.
My current monthly salary at step 4 of the public services librarian is $7,553.46 monthly. The step 1 salary of the district director position is $9,282 even monthly. So just doing my quick math here, it looks like it's about maybe $1,700 a month, give or take.
Give it to him.
Thank you. So any discussion?
How was $1,000 decided? Was that just now?
Oh, it just sounded like a round number. I'm willing to amend my motion to that number. And Ryan, I must say that you have stepped in to the acting director position, doing an outstanding job. I mean, I looked at the statistics, and everything is same or better. Just it keeps increasing each month. And the programming, everything is great. So I'll adjust my motion to, was it 1,700 position, 17 something?
So if I had a calculator, I could do it, but the step 1, yeah, sure.
How about up to the step 1 level?
To step 1 of district director, in our publicly posted on our website, our salary schedule is on the website. So step 1 is in a monthly salary of $9,282.
I amend my motion to $9,282.
Oh, I thought Tilly, we're not talking about the increase anymore, we're talking about the total.
So I'm raising 1,700, that's the...
To the stated step 1 of district director.
And then retroactive to the date that he appointed?
Yes, retroactive. January something. I just gotta ask a point of clarification. So, and hopefully it'll pick up on a microphone, but again, I truly, what I stated, that you can easily wait till that meeting at March. Going forward, you potentially are risking the trustee, positions of doing things in regular meetings. And again,
This is a regular meeting. This is our regular meeting.
I mean.
We noticed it over 72
No.
hours in advance. This is a regular
You have
meeting.
regular meetings,
This is our
and you
regular
publish
meeting.
those in advance, and you have a schedule, and it's actually in here, you talk about moving the main meeting. And then when you move your regular meetings, you can call them a special meeting, they're not called a new regular meeting. Now, had you published your one, and May 21st would have been on it, but that's not the point, John. I'm just saying that you could easily hold this and not run into any jeopardy of somebody who just wants to then go after the trustees. I'm just trying to caution you, honestly.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you.
Mark, one of the
That's
things
part of
you-
the discussion. If
One of
people
the-
don't want to vote for it, they
I'm
cannot
sorry.
vote for it.
One of the things you kept bringing up was a certain vote for hiring a new director. We didn't hire a new director, we just extended the contract of the existing one. And that's the point.
Yeah, but let's stay on the
That's a different
agenda
law.
item, please. We're not acting on any other agenda items like the special meeting of October 28th, 2017. Right now, the issue at hand and the motion, the revised motion on the board is to increase the amount to step one of the district director to $9,280, which represents an increase of $1,700. Can you give me the thing? Yeah.
We can pull up the old phone calculator.
So what I had was
Is this an agenda?
1567.
Is this item agenda?
Yes, yes. It's B. No, C. No, B. Sorry, B.
Well, we can have a problem, and if we're not declaring this a regular meeting, can we just go ahead and postpone this until the fourth Monday in March, and then bring it back again? Can we do that?
You can make a motion to do that. I will note that this is a regular meeting of the board.
Well, I guess the community is saying that it is not a regular meeting, although council might have said to us that it is a regular meeting. Let's just postpone this until March, the fourth Monday in March. If he would, may I ask you to, Commissioner, that you don't want to do that?
I think this is a regular meeting, it's a rescheduled meeting, this is a regular meeting now. The special meeting has completely different rules.
I understand that. Just so that we're clear with the community and we have no real issues with anything else, I make a motion that we table this until the meeting in March, the fourth.
March
Monday in
26th.
March the 26th. And then we're gonna do all of this. Anybody want to second? Thank you.
Okay, so we have competing motions now. One to table the item and reschedule, table it till the next agenda item, or till the next regular meeting of the board, and a motion that's been seconded that is to increase the acting district director's salary to $9,280, which represents an increase of $1,737.
$28.54.
Yeah. Check your math.
Nobody second, apologies. Do we have a second on the amended motion?
No, I second Gwen.
Okay.
So, Don, for the last second.
His original
Okay.
motion, Glenn,
Okay. So, we do have the two, motions, that are both been seconded. Any further discussion among the board before we take it forward to vote?
I just want to comment that, I mean, this is a slight to our acting director. He's been working in this capacity, and he's been doing his job, and so to delay it even further is, I mean, this is something that, why would we not pay him what he deserves?
It's going to be retroactive. It will be retroactive.
It's not a referendum on him at all. It's about standard course of procedure.
That's
right. This is not that.
Well, this
So-
has been on the agenda item, it is publicly noted, it's a 72-hour notice that's all been given, so.
But it's not a
But
regular
it's not a
meeting.
regular
regular
meeting. You
meeting.
can't
That
say
was
it is just because you say it is.
It is
Still a
This is not a special
This is
meeting.
a regular meeting. This is a regular meeting. We're allowed to change the date due to lack of quorum. So, you know, I know everybody, I honestly do not understand, there's literally no recourse, if, you know, Mark's statement that this is not the right procedure, or, you know.
Mark, explain it.
I simply don't understand what the issue is. And please, I know Mark argues procedures with us on literally a daily basis.
Because he knows what he's
Every
talking
single
about.
agenda item, most of them are moot points. So I will just say, I literally don't understand. Sometimes I have to ask him, what is your point? You know, so my point here, also for our town council member, what is really the issue about taking action?
Fourth Monday of February.
So, things changed and it was noticed in a proper manner, to have a date change. We're allowed to change it if we, anticipate a lack of quorum, and so we changed the date. It doesn't make it a special meeting.
Then why is
and-
it still listed in here for March 26th? If it was changed, then it shouldn't be in here like
It says
this.
March 7th, 2018.
No, not in your thing, it
No,
says
on-
March 26th.
So that was the old, that's the old schedule on for what would have happened. You know, we're not, March 26th is still scheduled.
So that's the regular meeting.
Just real quick,
Yes, real quick.
please.
So- Yes, so again, you have a motion on the floor for tabling it until March 26th. Armando's point of, you know, are we going to harm Ryan? Again, if you bring it back up and you actually have a written report that actually says it, because remember, you started with a motion that was made by one member to just give him $1,000. There was no thinking behind it. Again, what a board report does is it prepares stuff. And then you changed it because then the discussion was there. So the point is, you weren't ready for what the value would have been. Waiting till March 26th just makes logical sense.
Yep. Thank you.
Actually, you could withdraw your motion. You could withdraw it, and I asked you, would you withdraw your motion, and you say?
When, you know.
I'm just saying, would you withdraw your motion, that's all.
When I was board president, one of the things that I engendered
She
was
asked a question, answer the question.
and I am on the board, I'm on the a trustee, and I'm allowed to speak without interruption, rudely and inappropriately. Amy did earlier. We are allowed to speak without being interrupted.
And I will note, for the record, the discussion is among the board. We are allowing the public in it, but the public does not have to be part of our discussion about our motions. So this is a discussion among the board. We know that we like to have public participation, and we are engaging the public in many more ways than has ever been done since I've been on the board. And so please respect the fact that the board needs to have these discussions.
So as I was board president previously to John, one of the things I engendered, which we did very well, was collaboration, cooperation on the board, and there was no personalities, we all worked together. Of course, we had a lot of closed sessions where there were votes, and of course the public doesn't know that because that's all confidential. So.
No, every vote was
Noticed after the closed session, right, they were noticed afterwards. But I think, Glenn, you make a good point, and I make a good point as well. This is a regular meeting, it does not say special meeting, it's just rescheduled. Special meeting has different rules, 72 hours, et cetera. My feeling, and I agree with Armando, is that between now and 3 weeks from now, what might come up where someone will say, well, you know, you have to do this, let's delay it again. And it's really a slap at Ryan, he's doing a phenomenal job.
I understand. It's not about Ryan, please don't, please understand.
Trust me, I feel the support from the board and the community, thanks everybody in here, and I'm just gonna say that.
It's really not about that. If indeed we're speaking about a procedure, let's just go ahead and there's no reason why we cannot wait, because this is going to be retroactive paid anyway.
Right.
Okay? So, I mean,
So I will note, Glenn, though, from my own opinion, this is not an inappropriate application of the procedure. I realize that a number of members of the public believe it to be on procedural grounds in some way. I don't believe there is, so
and you know what,
it's my own view.
and I'm not taking it at that point. What, the point that I raised is that we gave an arbitrary number of $1,000 when we really should be moving.
I don't know that that was arbitrary.
He said it was arbitrary. He said it was arbitrary. He said it.
I never used the word arbitrary.
No, but you said $1,000.
Well, at any rate, I just need to move this on, so.
I'm not dropping my motion.
Okay, then, vote on this first.
You can't, you have to vote on the table first. That's Robert's rules.
Okay.
Let's take a vote. Please, quickly.
Let's use this, the city of Pasadena as an example. They don't get a quorum for a particular thing. They cancel the meeting. They do not postpone it, they cancel. There's a difference. And the business is moved to the next regular meeting. In this case, you should have canceled the meeting because you didn't have a quorum and moved the business to the following month at your regularly scheduled time. You don't get to postpone a meeting.
Thank you for your comments. We cleared this with county council, and their advice was that this is a regular meeting, that we are allowed to change the date of a meeting based on an
Yes.
anticipated lack of quorum.
You are
LA
entitled,
County
but there's a
Council
procedure
already,
for doing that.
LA County Council already gave us those procedures. So thank you for your comment. Any other discussions, Betsy?
I just want to state that, of course, I support Ryan's raise, he deserves it. So my seconding Glenn's motion was not in any way to deny that motion.
Okay, so let's take a vote on tabling this item and carrying it forward to the agenda of the March meeting, March 26th meeting. Everybody in favor of tabling this agenda item and moving it forward, say aye.
Aye.
Please note there were 2 votes for aye. Everybody opposed to tabling this agenda item, please say nay. Nay.
Say
3
my
votes.
little more ago.
Please, no rude comments. In fact, the bylaws say you cannot attack us personally.
So, but we have an expert on manners among our community, so Mr. Amy, can you repeat what you say on Nextdoor?
Nextdoor is not a free speech zone, public meetings are.
Okay. So, that motion does not pass, so we'll move on to voting for the compensation increase, the motion made by Ira and seconded by Armando. And that motion is to increase the acting district director's salary to step 1 of the district director, $9,280, which represents an increase of $1,737.
It's 28.
Oh, 28, sorry, we had changed it, I was reading off Armando. And that is, so everybody knows, that is a stipend increase for as long as he remains acting director. And it's going to be retroactive to January 25th, I believe.
We were after hours, so we'll say January 26th.
Okay, great. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Point of order, if I may, under Robert's rules. We heard from Kay Lynn that the initial $1,000 was seconded. We heard from Kay Lynn that the revised amount was not seconded. So
We did have a subsequent second. Thank you.
We did.
It was Armando. Yes, thank you.
Quietly.
So that motion carries. We'll move on to the next agenda item, RFP process for a new auditor. Can I ask Ryan to please explain this to the public?
You want the public comment first?
I apologize, public comment.
And so I'm,
Mark Mariscal, so I'm going to do C and D together, because it just gets to the fact of having a board report, a written report that the public can read ahead of time of what you might be talking about, not just a line item, just a single line. Here I'm using the assumption that the RFP process for a new auditor, he's going to talk about a process without any action being taken, because again, there's not a report. And then, because it could be that maybe you already have an auditor in mind, you're just going to vote like, let's just move to hire this person at $1,000, because that might be a good number. But on D, additional legal counsel, same thing. I mean, what do you guys, what is the point, what is it that the board can, the public can look at ahead of time of what the action will be? So that's my point of those two.
Thank you. Okay, so Ryan, can you
Yes,
describe what
at this point, I'm not sure that any vote is required by the board, other than just to inform the public that per the Altadena Library District Financial Policies and Procedures Manual, which was approved by the board in 2009, every 3 years, we change the contract for our independent auditor, and we did that process in 2015, and that contract is up in 2018. The only purpose for this at this point is to bring it to the public and to the board that we need to move forward with this process. We have not put out an RFP at this time for a new auditor. Those would go in the board package when we put that out and see those, and then the board would vote on which auditor we choose. This came up because some correspondence between me and our consulting CPA, who told us that the issue at this time is that auditor schedules, and I'm quoting this from her email, are filling up for this summer, and if we wait, we run the risk of not being able to get on the schedule to get a timely audit done. Another thing that she pointed out to me was that that Paul Kmark of the Pun Group, who had been our previous auditor, he has left the Pun Group, and I'm quoting her in her email, their team left behind has little special district experience. Because of that, we're just bringing it before the board that we need to start this RFP process. I don't believe a vote is necessary on that. We just want to get, the information from the board that we will be moving forward on that unless there's any objection.
Yeah, and just a point of clarification, it doesn't necessarily have to be a new auditor.
That's correct.
The Pun Group may respond to the RFP.
They may very well
be
respond to
evaluated, right? Okay. And my understanding is they've done that in the past. So this is just a cyclical, periodic thing. Every 3 years we put out a new RFP.
For our board-approved financial policies, we do this every 3 years. It's a matter of policy and not a new thing.
Okay. Any discussion among the board?
I just have a quick question about agenda format. When it says information/action, that means it could be information or action, but it's not necessarily, that doesn't mean there is.
It could be either.
Okay.
Yes. So at this time, on Ryan's recommendation, there's no action to take other than to instruct the administration to begin the process of issuing RFPs.
Yes.
Thank you. And what would be the timeframe? Do you expect responses in 30 days or probably not by the next meeting?
I'm sure that Cindy Byram, our CPA, is going to be working with us on that, and she's ready to move forward immediately. I would expect her to have the RFPs ready within the week to go out, so I'm not sure what the response time is.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions for Ryan on that item? So item number D, Mark Mark made his public comment on that. Additional legal counsel, so just to introduce this as a topic, based on information and encouragement from the public about certain issues that they feel that we might need additional legal guidance on. The board, specifically me, has elicited recommendations on potential law firms that provide specialized legal advice to special districts, public agencies, governmental agencies, someone that can provide additional legal advice in addition to LA County Counsel. So there's no action to take at this time other than there's no legal action that we are looking at this potential law firm looking into in any way other than to provide us additional support as we need it. So rather than be in a position where we have to go out and acquire a Brown Act expert or some other kind of expert, we want to hire an attorney, hire a law firm, start the relationship, and so we have them at our disposal. I interviewed 3 potential candidates that were all recommended as being specialists in governmental legal matters and special district legal matters. The law firms were Best and Krieger, who happens to be the largest firm providing this kind of specialist legal work in the state of California. They do legal work for special districts and governmental agencies, public agencies as well. A number of their attorneys are specialists in things like the Brown Act, board compliance, ethics, all of the other things that we've heard from the public about that they are concerned about. The next firm, they're based in Los Angeles and a number of other locations around the state. The next firm is Hahn and Hahn, who's a law firm doing employment law primarily here in Pasadena, and we spoke to their representatives. They also claim to have all of the same specializations that I spoke about with the other law firm as well, and gave us examples. The third that I reached out to but was not able to connect with was Ogletree, and I lost my notes, Ogletree and a second name, Ogletree and Deacon, I believe. So I didn't have the opportunity to interview them because we could not connect in the time frame required. That being said, I would entertain a motion to engage one of these firms. No retainer is required for either firm. They bill on a time, billable hours basis, and they actually quoted the exact same amount for their billable hours of $375 an hour, which I've heard from Armando is within reason for this kind of work. So may I have a motion to select one of these, one of the 2 firms to start a relationship with?
Point of clarification, this should be an as-needed basis on an hourly rate without a retainer, right?
Yes. As-needed basis, hourly rate, no retainer required.
And this would be in addition to our legal representation by LA County Counsel?
Yes.
I'll make that motion to seek additional legal services from one of the 2 law firms that have experience in special districts and Brown Act issues.
Okay, can I have a second?
Point of information. And I didn't say.
Thank you, Mark, for the acknowledgement that we needed in the board packet.
Well, no, what I want to say now is, it sounds like you went and interviewed some groups. I don't remember it in the January meeting that there was actually authority for the board president to go out and negotiate. And maybe I'm wrong, so I didn't look in the minutes.
There was no negotiation.
Okay, to go out and talk to a legal law firm. On behalf of the trustees need to give authorization to the director or the president or something. It's just, you don't just walk out and just go find some rules and come back and get a motion.
Mark, thank you for your comments. There's a motion, we're gonna discuss it. The board, the trustees can vote yea or nay on whether to engage that firm or either of the firms, okay? Thank you. Yes.
And sorry, I'm gonna have to catch up a lot. Is it the case? Sorry. Is it the case that in the past, the assistance that the board has gotten from the county council has not been sufficient? Or I'm just wondering, what is it that requires that?
Yeah, there are a couple of issues. One, they're not experts on everything. Two, we're in the queue with every other government agency that has them as their counsel. So there could be issues related to them being able to properly respond in an appropriate amount of time. And, you know, at least my feeling is that we need additional counsel. We've not used county counsel in something like over 20 years. Until our previous law firm abruptly resigned. So we're sort of trying to engage with a specialist that deals with public agencies, especially special districts.
So there's a history of having had additional counsel?
Yes.
And my other question is, how will this affect the budget? Will there be a budgeted amount that to cover how much legal fees we would have over the course of the year? Is that already in the budget?
Yes, there's already a budgeted amount in there. At this time, having not engaged them or anything really for them to work on, we don't expect to run up billable charges until we, you know, need them. Absolutely.
Do you know the amount that's in that budget for legal fees?
Not off the top of my head.
It's in the board package.
Yeah, it's in the financial documents. I believe it was $5,000 for the year.
For the year?
Yes.
Last year, maybe previous years, we didn't use.
Yes. Gwen was just asking about whether we had used the legal budget in past years, the amount budgeted, and I don't think anybody's prepared right now to say that.
Okay.
Sure. Monica, please.
When my husband was on the board in previous years, county council was used exclusively. This seems to me like another instance of the board or one person on the board wanting additional help for something. Who is going to be authorized, as you did trying to get a personal administrative assistant that taxpayer funded? So who is going to be authorized to speak with this lawyer, and is it all going to happen in public? Or will the results of the conversations be reported out to the public, or is this just another private deal?
Thank you for your comment. All discussions with county council or with any other law firm are privileged through attorney-client privilege. So at no time will any discussion with our legal representation be made public. I'm surprised that you expect that to be so.
Who gets to speak with the lawyer that you are going to hire?
Thank you for your comment. Any other discussion? So, to hasten the process, I'd like to request an amended motion to select one of the two law firms that have proposed services, rather than it be not known, just so the public knows who we're going to select.
What if we invite them to make a quick presentation to the board at the end of the month meeting here that we have?
Thank you, Armando.
We can't hear you. They make a presentation and we can decide on that. Sorry, our mics are just not accurate.
They're directional mics, and you have to speak directly into them.
Thank you for your comment. So are you revising your motion to?
Yeah, I'm revising my motion, so I'll actually withdraw the last motion, and then the new motion would be to invite these 2 or 3 firms who are interested to come and make a presentation at the March 26th meeting to determine if we can retain their services.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
Any discussion?
This is something that's great. I'm interested in making sure that they can hear the presentations. Great.
Okay, can I'm gonna move forward with a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. On to E, quote for adding volunteers to workers' compensation coverage, SDRMA. That is page 111 in the board packet. Sorry, we had 2 public comments on this. Please be quick.
Mark Mariscal, friends of the Altadena Library, and even probably on behalf of the foundation, and even the other volunteers here. I'm glad this has come back, and it's got something, I don't quite exactly know, does that mean every hour that somebody logs, it's $1.81 would be the cost?
So,
Because that would be hard.
Hang on, wait until we discuss.
So anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we just
Thank you
want
for
to
your comments.
But we do appreciate it.
Renee, Amy, and I just wanted to point out that I looked at the report and figured out that it's 27 cents per volunteer hour is the cost. You have to figure it at $15 per hour value of the volunteer's labor, but the actual cost to the district winds up being 27 cents per volunteer hour. If budgetary concerns are an issue for the district, I'll volunteer to pay the first $4,000 hours worth of coverage, if it's a concern for the library board to provide this. I understand that every penny costs money, and it's taxpayers' money, and it should be treated respectfully. But if you have a problem with the money, I'm good for the first 4,000 hours worth. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd encourage you to make a donation to the Friends of Foundation. Discussion on this from the board. Oh, Ryan, sorry.
The only thing I
Continue
wanted to
present.
point out was that the way this printed in the board package made it a little bit unclear as to which figures were under which heading on 111. So I printed it out in the landscape fashion, and it estimated $27.15 per 100 volunteer hours, which sounds very close to what Mr. Amy said.
Okay, and do you have an estimate of the number of volunteer hours we annually log?
Yeah, so this is fluctuating a little bit because we hired a volunteer coordinator, I believe in February of 2017. So in the 16-17 fiscal year, we had roughly 1,200 volunteer hours. So far, as of January 17 and 18, we've had 1,800 volunteer hours, and you can see how it's been increasing because of that position. Actively recruiting volunteers and working with volunteers. I estimated that actually in January we reported 304 total volunteer hours. If we subtracted the board from that, which I believe is already covered, it may be a little bit less. But my estimate was that this would cost the library anywhere from $800 to $1,000 a year based on having 300 hours a month.
But that estimated annual.
Can you do this?
So I believe we reported the hours as 100 hours per month, and that was what she quoted, at an estimated annual premium of $27. But when we contacted her, that would be reported at the end of the year, so that would fluctuate, but it wasn't 100 hours a
So
year.
I was reading it as it was an estimated annual cost of $27.15 per 100 volunteer hours. So what you're saying is that was per 100 per year, not?
No, 100 hours per month was the quote that she gave us, with an estimated annual premium of $27.15. And
So if we do $300 a month, then it's roughly gonna be $75, $80.
yes, but it adjusts.
Which you can more than afford.
Yeah. So, and we can get clarification on that. I know that the table got a little skewed.
So, at this point, we may want to get clarification from them based on kind of where our volunteer hours are heading, because they, yes, yeah. Yeah, so kind of saying that we can request a table of ranges based on what it looks like our volunteer hours will be annually.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions?
I have a question, because I wrangle volunteers, and I know they're hard to wrangle. I presume that there's some
airtight way that you record volunteer hours? I mean, is it, or is there something required by the workers' comp company to provide as proof of, like,
That's a good
log
question.
or,
We do have logs, our volunteer coordinator manages all of that. I'm not sure what they might require in terms of us reporting it.
Yeah, it may require you to change how you record your volunteer hours to satisfy whatever requirements they have for services.
Good point.
Any other questions for Ryan? So I'll entertain a motion to table this until we get a table of ranges of what the financial impact is, and to Betsy's point, the additional requirements for reporting.
Checking in on that.
Okay.
If we could have that for the next meeting on the,
Yes.
yeah, this spot, that'd be great.
Okay, so now our next item on the agenda is the RFP for the facilities condition assessment, going to be presented by Jonathan. We're going to take a couple minutes break. Okay, we're going to go back into session after the break. Sorry, we're going to go back into session after the break to address agenda item 9F, RFP for facilities condition assessment. We have a comment on this item, Mr. Amy.
Thank you. First, I wanted to commend staff on all the effort they put into this and generating the RFP, and I don't know how many board members had a chance to read the 100 and whatever pages it is, but long story short, I'm a general contractor. I hold a variety of accreditations and have served on state committees, et cetera. And as you consider this is not on. As you consider who to select for this process, if you decide to select one of these firms, looking at the table that staff has prepared on their report, I would urge you to note that the issue of an energy audit is considered in there, as well as ADA. Now, this is listed as ADA, but both of these are exceedingly important for the library district. Both the idea of an energy audit being an analysis of use of and ways to improve and limit energy use by the facility, and the ADA issue specifically, and I did not see this listed, and perhaps staff can address this, but there's an element within the ADA access issue in California that has this weird title. It's an acronym, CASPI. I'm going to call it CASPI. It's probably something else. But basically, it's a specialist who is certified by the state to provide state-approved ADA consultation and recommendations. We all know this library building here is an ADA disaster. One of the advantages of ensuring that whatever provider you choose for this work is CASPI, is that you get basically special bonus points in case someone decides to sue for lack of access.
If you're already using and working with a CASB person, the state grants you additional time to deal with the issue and not immediately be found in violation. So, again, I did not see CASB being spelled out in any of these. I may have missed that, and again, maybe staff can address that. But again, energy audits and the CASB issue.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jonathan, will you present your report to us?
My name is Jonathan Arevalo. I am the facilities project manager on the special projects for this library, which we have done a lot. And but we are recommending, we were requested by the board to do a RFP for facilities assessment on the building. Now, I know also this addresses something in the future, because I know old business you have with the wanting to upgrade the branch and everything else, and that's understandable. But how can we go into something like that without getting the full, I mean, practicality, common sense, we see there are certain things that we need to be done, and that's understandable. But we need a full assessment to really get into what we really need. Yes, we could see that maybe there's roofs needs to be changed or something else, but they go internally, they go into the structure, they go into everything else. And to address Renee's question, they are ADA, they do follow ADA standards. According to the CASB, I'm not quite certain about that, but I will get all the information there to clarify that. But I do know they take care, most of these companies, especially the one that we're recommending, unfortunately have a bad name, but we're recommending that they are compliant with most of the UC systems. They are taking care, they took care of University of Southern California, which I love, and they've taken care also, right now they're taking care of a smaller library called the Huntington, and so they're just, they're fly-by-nights, but they're taking care of that library right now, and they're an incredible company. So the company we're recommending is called ISIS, and I'm sorry about that, but the company is called ISIS. Tony Simpson, he's a very nice gentleman. He's the vice president of the company. I had numerous conversations with him. He was recommended to me from Jerry Eaton, from the facilities manager director over at the Huntington. And so they didn't pick him yet at the time when I was talking, but they are now using him now. But that was who they wanted. And so I wanted to get someone that was going to, if the Huntington use them, why not check them out? So I did a cost analysis, did the RFP on it, as was requested by the board. And so as you can see the breakdown that we have here on the sheet of what the requirements, what they do, you can see that ISIS, they include the software, they do include the FCA samples. As the other companies, as you see, there was no software identified, but they are, if we go down to the bottom, they are ADA. They do work on ADA, and we really do need to work on our ADA.
Yes, we do.
It is, I mean, I walk by this grounds almost every day, and I'm not getting any younger too. But it is important that we see all these things. This library is a lot. I mean, I've gone to this library since I was in the 3rd grade, and I'm a Pasadena resident. And I've come here, and I've always told people that this library reminds me of being out in the woods. And it is. It's a very lovely library. We have done so much to this library. Let's keep it up. As you notice, the grounds are now much more cleaner. Even the neighbors around the area are loving how it's looking. And, I'm glad for that. But we need to do more. And so by getting an assessment, I believe we had one in 2005. Yeah, but I don't know what actions were taken at that time. So I believe that what we should do is we do this, and then we take action on the recommendations that this company suggests. So I know it's a sizable amount, maybe we could do some common sense stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that I can't see There's a lot of stuff that a lot of staff can't see, that this company that does it all the time can see. And so that's, my suggestion is that we use ISIS, you know, I'm sorry, but that is the company that my suggestion we use. They are, they've been around for a long time. They are, like I said, they work a lot on universities and things like that, and specifically libraries, as a matter of fact. And so I'm really pleased to 100%, and I hope that you accept this, and we did our due diligence with this, and hopefully that you can find it, you know, that you vote on it and approve this, that we use ISIS.
Thank you for your presentation.
So to add to what Jonathan was saying, the other two submissions, other than ISIS, the Sightlines had only put one building in their assessment, so it almost ruled it out. It also has a no under energy conservation. And the third one, Partners, had a no for ADA accessibility, so it seemed like a clear choice.
Thank you for pointing that out in the summary, that those other two companies didn't comply with the terms that you were expecting in your RFP.
Yes, and that's what, according to that's what we did, so hopefully everything will go well.
Can I make a comment about the ADA, please? But it's really important.
Yes, please. Quickly.
Over a year ago, I had asked Mindy to check the, because I have a hard time walking, and I can't use the steps in the back. I use them when I have to, so I come in through the front. But the street, the way the street is, it dips so much that when I try to open the door, it keeps closing. And I asked her if she would look into talking with the town about it. I went to town council about it. I went to her about it. And everybody pushes it back. It's bad enough I don't have a bathroom I can use here on the floor where the books are, but just getting in and out, and you know how often I'm here, all the time, everybody knows me, but it's hard, and it gets harder every day for me to come in because of the way the street is in front of the library. And I can't come up the back, I came up the back way today because the meeting was in the middle, but it's really difficult, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who has a problem walking, able to get in here. And I just think that should be addressed whenever, whoever does all this, they need to address that for people like me. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan, just a quick question. Well, maybe two. One, can you just briefly describe the deliverables as the bids were structured? Because I noted that there wasn't a clear description of what the deliverables were for at least one of the bids, but another bid did. Can you just summarize what you expect to get from each of these companies at the end of the assessment?
At the end of the assessment, what I expect to get, well, this is what I expect to get, plain and simple. What I want to get is basically a full documentation of what is wrong with this building, what needs to be adjusted, what we need to do, any type of masonry work that needs to be done, any type of sprinkler system that needs to be installed, any type of plumbing that needs to be taken care of. Of course, foremost, we are not ADA where we should be, right? There's a slope there that is, I mean, Magic Mountain will be envious of that slope. But we need to really take care of just the situation that we have. You know, I expect them to give me, also to give me what a cost analysis of what it will be 3 to 5 years out, how much will that be. We have, as of lately, we have upgraded our AC system, which hasn't been done in a while, but we have upgraded that to meet standards. You know, we changed it over to a different refrigerant, because the refrigerant they have now is better than what was before. But I expect them to show me what I need to upgrade this building. I need to show them how to make it more accessible, ADA accessible. I need to also show the structure to make sure that earthquake, safe. I need to also see the grounds, whatever it needs to be on the grounds. I also want them to deliver me in a timely manner. They say it's like 12 weeks when they would do this. But they are gonna do extensive speaking with each of the staff members here, especially, of course, in the facilities. But they will also speak to staff members, and they'll point out different things. You know, we have done a lot of improvements, but there's always more room for more.
Mr. Chairman, can I just tell you that page 212 has a summary of deliverables, and 213 has project fees, I mean, all of what you were asking. It's at the very back.
But that's only for one bid.
Yeah, we don't.
I just wanted to point out that
Yes.
at least one bid was essentially lacking a description of the deliverable. So they wanted to charge us money, they probably deliver something, but maybe not because they're not guaranteeing it. Whereas the one you've chosen has a very clearly
Yes.
described set of
Right.
deliverables at the end.
Right, and that's another reason why we chose them too.
Yeah.
Because even though we looked at the numbers on there, you know, my motto is you get what you pay for. And unfortunately, it's true, you know, but we want to make sure that we are using the money that we have assessed for this, for our facilities in a wise manner. And we have to be accountable for what we're spending.
So, another question. Okay.
Yes,
Hi. Well, you're doing a great job, Ron. You really are. I know with the ADA, and obviously, she's been for many years, that when, 7, 8 years ago, when there was a charrette, because we were going to do a whole big renovation of the building, multi-million-dollar, that the bathroom even came up with ADA and said, oh, just make it bigger, not a big deal. But I understand it's structural, that a lot of things have to be moved, so these, I think when they come in, after they do their review, what is gonna be more down the road, like foundation level, and what's gonna be expense level.
right, and that's what I believe that ISIS will make sure about that. They will go in and see, like I said, they will project 3 to 5 years out, and we will see what the cost will be at. I know that, yes, bathrooms are much to be desired, but we need to, I mean, even with some grab doors and things like that, that can help a little bit, but that is not the full solution. I know that I've overheard some people say that they would like to have changing stations inside the bathrooms. Sometimes even the men's and women's bathrooms have changing stations so that they could be able to provide services for their children. But we're small. It's small. This was built in a different time and era, so.
So on the pricing for e-safe, let's say, in the table it says 19,200.
Yes.
Does that represent some kind of discount because their initial bid looks like it was a little bit higher?
Yes, their initial bid was higher, but then we negotiated.
Okay.
And I talked to him and we brought it down.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's also reflected in the board report and an addendum, if you want, just so it's.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jonathan around the RFP for facilities assessment and staff recommendation that we select as preferred vendor?
I'd just like to add my thanks and compliments.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'll entertain a motion to approve administration moving forward to select ISIS for the facilities assessment project at the rate of $19,200. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question, Jonathan, I'm sorry, I didn't ask when you were up there.
Yes.
And I don't know if it shows it here. Do these people actually be contractors and do any of the work? Or are they more engineers that just say this is what needs to be done?
They are more engineers than anything else. And what they'll do, they will give us recommendations of people who to choose. They will give us that, but then we could make assessments of our own. We pick someone else. They'll probably give us a benchmark, and we'll go off that benchmark. But then again, they probably know a lot of contractors and everything else that will help us with the facilities. But we are building up our own vendor list for contractors and everything else, from electricians, plumbers, and everything else. And so that way I could use my own guys and just show them the report of what needs to be done, and we can go through our vendors. And of course, ISIS probably has some, big construction companies that we know of that if we have to do any major renovations, to be ADA compliant, then we will go according to their recommendations. But we still will look for our own people too.
Will they know
Outstanding.
blueprint, is there some sort of drawings that they can drawings that they're going to be doing, or explain?
So the CAD drawings that they will be taking care of is, they will take visual pictures and everything else. But we do have blueprints of our building right now, the older ones, but they will update everything, so it's to 2018 standards.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
One more clarification, the motion includes giving Ryan the authority to sign any, agreement with the company and.
Since it's over $10,000.
Yes, yes, approval, signing authority, approval for the over 10,000, yes, absolutely.
Oh, can I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There is also one more, it was more for an internal, there was another option we wanted to go through. There was another like $2,300 that we wanted to go that option. I think that's on there. But, so but we'll see how far we can get on that. If we need to go with that option, we will let the board know right away. Okay?
Great. So that's noted as the infrastructure survey
Yes.
on their bid.
Yes, it
That's
is.
$2,075, yes, okay. Great, so we have a motion on the table. If there's no further discussion.
I just have a point that if it's another $2,300, why don't we just consider that now, so we can at least have that in there, so we can come back to approve that. We do not have to come back to another 10,000.
Well, the 2,000 being a separate thing may not need the board approval if we add it on, if the $19,000 sum is approved, then the 2,000 could be at the discretion of the director.
Point of clarification, it's an ad alternate or something. Your idea, Armando, is much better, cleaner, and it's easier to just add it in than going, because, you know, it's like doing a lot of $9,000 contracts to the same vendor breaks your rule. So,
Yeah.
Go for it, Armando.
We modify it, and then we don't have to spend it if we don't need it, use it. We don't have to spend it, but it's there, just in case.
and we will try very hard not to.
So, will you issue a revised motion? Oh, Betsy made the motion.
Coach me here, so.
I'll entertain a motion to approve to accept the staff recommendation to approve ISIS as the preferred vendor and to allow Ryan as acting director, signing authority, to engage in the statement of work associated with the facilities assessment report at the cost of $19,200 with an ad alternate of $2,075 if deemed necessary.
That's what I know.
May I have a second? With no further discussion, I'd like to take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you for your thorough work, both to Jonathan, everybody else in facilities, and the library staff as well that are going to participate in this and already have. I think the issue that we've all found was that outdated facilities report where laws have changed and, you know, it pointed out a lot of things that were wrong with the building, but time had taken its toll on that actual report. So updating that is a great thing for us as we move forward into long-range planning and planning for renovations. As a point of going out of order on the agenda, the reports from the support groups, are you guys running behind in time? We expect to kick them off in the next 5 minutes or so. Okay.
I was gonna see if we needed to.
I appreciate that, but we're good.
Just stretching, right?
Yes.
You know, okay, good. We thought you were gonna run out the door. Okay, 10A, old business update from Ad hoc Committee for Bylaws Review. We have public comment from Mark.
Nope. Go on.
Those are being reviewed, and we want to have the input from our newest member, and so, we'll set a date that's convenient so that we can have her.
So to restate that report for audio purposes, Glenn has reported that, that process is in progress. A draft has been drafted of revised bylaws, and we would especially like the input from our new trustee. So we'll carry that forward to the next meeting. No action needed on that. So 10B, revised resolution for authorized signers for fiscal documents. At the time that we had named Ryan as acting director, that prompted a review of signing authority for all of our accounts, financial accounts. And we discovered those were out of date. And so last meeting, we had a resolution number 201803 establishing authorized signatures. That included naming Armando Zambrano as an authorized signer on the account, and Ira Borshofsky. That motion carried, but upon signing, Ira noted that as a SEC professional, you're not allowed to be on financial signing authority. So he's not able to be one of those authorized signers. So we're going to issue a revised resolution, and we need 2 signatures of trustees to be included as authorized signers. The accounts, the materials in the board packet, so I won't read it, but we do need 2 trustees, excluding Ira from being an authorized signer.
I had a question, just
Yes.
before you said it was out of date.
Mm-hmm.
For how long, and who was responsible for keeping it up to date? Because if it was out of date, there was someone's name on there who could sign and walk into the bank, sign a check, and leave with a bunch of the library money.
So I don't necessarily know the answer to that, but I do know that.
Do you know the answer?
I know Barbara could not walk in the bank because she passed away. I believe she was on there, but I think that had been since updated with Mindy. I think the only person was a former finance director that may have been on there because it had been updated. But yeah, I don't know. I don't work in finance, so I couldn't really answer your question.
Nicole works in finance. Who was responsible?
That probably would have been under the former finance director's position.
That person's been gone over a year.
Yes, she was on leave for a very extended period.
So then, why was she on it? I mean, that's why we're amending it.
I can't say.
Can we ask for future, it doesn't have to be in the resolution, but that we have a periodic, at least quarterly review of the authorized signers to ensure that we don't have anyone who's departed either metaphorically or literally.
And there may be something in there about that, so
Okay.
we can look at it and let you know.
The safeguard, when they require 2 signatures to.
Every check requires 2 signatures.
Good. Yeah. But to Ira's point, there were 2 or more authorized signers who were no longer affiliated with the library at the time. So, not that they did anything wrong, but it does show that we need a little more internal oversight. The resolution reads, whereas the Chase Bank requires a resolution from the governing body of the Altadena Library District listing the authorized signers on all bank accounts and safe deposit box whenever a change occurs, therefore be it resolved that the bank is authorized to pay out funds from the following accounts with any 2 signatures of the individuals whose names and titles are listed below on behalf of the Altadena Library District. The accounts are a business money market account, a checking account, and a second checking account. Authorized representatives include Mindy Katay, District Director, William Ryan Roy, Acting District Director. Authorized signers are Mindy Katay, District Director, William Ryan Roy, Acting District Director, and Estella Terrazas, Collection Development Manager. And then we need 2 trustees do I have volunteers to serve on as authorized signers?
Sure, I'll volunteer.
I'll be a second.
Okay, so, with that, adding, trustee Khan and trustee Zambrano, as authorized signers, do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
Can I ask you a question? If someone's on leave, are they supposed to be authorized if they're on leave?
Someone on leave is still officially an employee of the district. So can I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion passes. So we do have a form here for Armando, we'll get one for Betsy. 10C, update on budget memo and mid-year budget adjustment. Ryan, can you quickly give us an update?
Typically, the mid-year budget adjustment would happen in the February meeting, which this is, even though it's March 7th. But due to...
Hang on, I forgot, Mark actually had a public comment. Are you okay? Okay.
Thank you.
I was looking at my notes saying, what does MM mean? You know, like, should have known. Okay.
So there is a budget subcommittee that is comprised of two board members, Trustee McDonald and Trustee Brashowski, who meet with staff to work on these types of budget issues. So there are a couple of things that are being revised in the mid-year budget adjustment. Hopefully we will have a chance to meet the budget subcommittee within the next couple of weeks so that we can present a recommendation for that at the next board meeting.
Great. Thank you for that update. Any questions from trustees? 10D, update on project plan for Bob Lucas Branch Library upgrade. Also, Ryan, you're up.
So as Jonathan mentioned in his presentation, a lot of what we want to do at the branch is contingent on getting the full facilities assessment, so we know the order in which to take to begin these improvements. That said, there are some smaller improvements that we have been working on, and in January, the one that was completed was the roller shades. If you have a board package, there's pictures on page 34 where you can see the older green plastic shades were replaced with something much nicer. And again, once we do have a project plan for branch upgrades, and the foundation has, I believe, set forth a dollar amount that they were going to contribute to that project. So once we get the facilities assessment, we will be moving forward with a lot of those initiatives.
Any questions for Ryan?
Just, again, my comments, I mean, well, that's been a focus of my time on the board, and I intend to just every month keep on reminding that we really need to give attention to that Lucas branch. So I'm happy to see that the improvements are starting, and expect that I will continue to ask you to really put our best efforts to make that building look as good as this building looks. Thank you.
So to that point, one of the things that we're proposing to talk about in the budget subcommittee is to see what it would take to get the branch open on Saturdays and to staff that and what the financial impact would be.
Excellent, and that's something that we had brought up at the last meeting, so thank you for actually looking into that. And hopefully it's something that we can actually do fairly quickly instead of waiting the entire system.
I'm hoping that within a couple of months we can move forward.
Okay, we'll have a kickoff party. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ryan, and also to all the staff that worked on the project plan for the Lucas branch, and also noting that we hope to have even additional improvements made once we have the full facilities adjustment for both buildings. 10E, update on salary comparison and wage scale revisions by HR Network. Ryan, do you have an update?
They have not given me an update. It's something they've been working on for quite some time now. They're obviously not attending this meeting, but they will be in the building on Friday to attend our all-staff meeting and be available afterwards. And you and I have a meeting to discuss with them priorities moving forward, so we can touch base with them on where they are on that.
Great, thank you. Correspondence, reports of support groups, I promised they would be coming up soon. Foundation, Cynthia.
Hi there. Oh, this is still on. Okay. Cynthia Carmona, board chair of the Altadena Library Foundation. I'm going to make this very short. Just a couple of updates. We had a great informational mixer for potential board members. We had really great turnout. I want to thank Armando for being the board representative that came and mingled with us and talked about the benefits of joining the Altadena Library Foundation. We are currently doing some follow-up work. We're in the process of establishing a nomination subcommittee and doing some solicitation. We're actually developing a kind of application for folks who might be interested, and then they'll bring that back to the nominations committee, and then we can work on getting some more additional people on the board. So that should be really exciting. And then finally, we are just about to kick off the planning for the Taste of Dena 2018, so second annual, and it looks like we're going to be holding that in late September, potentially September 22nd or the weekend thereafter. And so as we finalize that, we will certainly let you all know. We are also in the throes of recruiting for that volunteer committee, planning committee, and I already have interest from someone who's interested in co-chairing. So really excited about recruiting for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the Friends, Mark.
So the Friends of the Altadena Library, Mark Mariscal. So and we have a few members here. One did leave earlier, but I will say that I want to publicly say that this board did thank the Friends for the $12,000 check. It was actually in the January newsletter, a picture, and so it's a little sad that it's this late in the meeting to say it. So some of those people hopefully will listen to this and hear that. I will also say that I met Ira the first time at a Friends meeting just before he came for the appointment process. I met Armando at a Friends meeting as I was getting back involved. And I've known Gwen because of the Friends and trustee and foundation for 7 years at least. So I've just gotten to know John briefly. So I will say that the board does have good intentions, and you did say some nice things tonight about suggesting to people, including Renee, who came up and said yes, he would either make that $1,000 check to the Friends or the foundation for workers' comp if that's the action that the board might be taking at the next meeting. With that, we still have in our budget, and our fundraising so far this year has been pretty good. Chris is our treasurer right here. And so we think we're going to hit our $24,000 mark that we internally said, even though in your budget you have placed $20,000. So we're looking forward to that. And we had a very good pop-up sale that is, one of you, I don't remember if it was Armando or something, we think there might have been a mistake by a professional bookseller who came on a week ago Saturday and probably had about 40 books, and our two cashiers said he didn't pay. So we're going to try to track him down a little bit. He lives in Long Beach, and he sells on Amazon. And so he probably took some, and he showed us his whole, the scanner and his app. And he said, this book I'm going to put on Amazon for $21, and he's going to pay $1 from us. And that's okay, because the Friends get these donations, and we then, make them available for people. But there are some professional sellers. The last thing I want to say is May 19th and 20th is our big book sale. Marnie, who is past president and was president for about 7 straight years, is chairing that. And then, of course, our general meeting, which I think it's the first Monday in June, and I believe that's June 4th or 5th. And so and that's not just for members, although we would love people to come and become members even there or anything.
I have envelopes.
But Granny's got an envelope, and she got 2 of the potential people today, 3. But anyway, so that meeting's going to be there, and so you'll hear about that again in April and May, because we would like to get people there, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. And maybe a topic for discussion at some point for the Friends would be trying to leverage the interest of professional booksellers to our benefit. it in some way. I know there's probably some techniques
So we
people
do-
can come up with, ideas.
Yeah, let me just quickly say, so we do actually, we have somebody that scans the books, a volunteer downstairs that scans them, and then we put them aside, and then once a month or every 6 weeks, the last bookstore, is that what it's called, in downtown LA, they actually come and they sell them online or in the store, and we get 70% of it, and they just get 30. So that's pretty good compared to the Amazon process where you, as a bookseller, you have to pay at least a minimum $40 a month. You have to pay your shipping yourself. So yeah, so we've looked into that. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks. Reports of trustees. None from Gwen or Myra?
Great, well, everyone that came in to be appointed was wonderful of the passion that people here, come in. But I do, as I mentioned a little earlier, and I'll mention it again, the interruptions of the trustees is inappropriate and won't be tolerated anymore. It's not appropriate. This isn't a backyard at someone's house. This is a professional organization. We're volunteers and we're not paid, and we are trustees. We're fiduciaries of this library, and we do what's best, what we feel is for the library. And the public comments are fine, they're wonderful, but if your worldview of people who are criticizing us, if our worldview is different than yours, you do not have the right to shout us down or bully us. We have our right to talk, you have your right to comment, your 3 minutes or whatever it is. Thank you.
Betsy, as a new trustee, would you like to make a report?
First, for me to understand, this is where trustees talk about things that they've done that might be of interest to the board? Well, I can tell you something. I just went to the Charlotte Huck Children's Literature Festival at the University of Redlands last weekend, and it was full of children's authors and illustrators from all over the U.S., and librarians and teachers from all over Southern California, and I go to those kind of things, and so I just have to describe what it's like for a little librarian who works all alone to be in a room full of hundreds of people who love children's literature as much as I do. And it's very, very energizing. And I guess maybe one thing that makes me say in a few hours since I got this job I'm doing right now is that I would definitely want to find any way at all possible to support staff in professional development. It's so important to be able to go out and be with your colleagues and see what's happening in other places. And I just hope that opportunity comes up for us to talk about that.
My comment, I know we're getting close to 9 o'clock, so I'm going to try to be quick. Ryan and myself met on February 13th with the captain of the Altadena Sheriff's Department, specifically to talk about the concerns that we had of any kind of criminal activity or just concerns that are happening at the library at both of the branches, including the incident that happened at the end of December, where the allegation was that there was a male who approached a minor child and made some sexual comments. And the police were called on that day, but nobody was arrested. So we talked about just best practices. We talked with the captain about sort of just concerns about making sure that the entire staff is notified when there is a serious allegation of a problem that's happening, because I think in the past only certain people were made to know about that, and so now Ryan has taken that upon to make sure that an email goes out or some other communication goes out so that our own staff can be really the best eyes and ears, which is what Captain Stuckey told us about. If we suspect something, if we see something, don't, especially when it comes to our children, that there should be zero tolerance, that, our staff is really there, the first line of making sure that we call the Sheriff's Department to get somebody over here quickly and just assess the situation. So, and she gave us advice also about how we can use a 602 form, which she called, to make sure that an individual who's been identified as causing problems of serious in nature is warned, and then if that continues or if the incident is serious in nature, that sufficient serious in nature that that person would be banned some of the library properties. So we talked to her about that too. And I think it was a good discussion. Ryan, would you?
Yeah, it was great. There was a lot of good feedback from the captain, and some of which we've already put into place in the practices with the staff. One of which is regular routine walkthroughs on an hourly basis. So we have staff that, rather than just, and walkthroughs were something that we always practiced as a library, but specifically from the captain, she would say, go to the back corners, go into the bathrooms and look around, go to the places that are a little outside of the route you may normally walk through, because those are going to be the places where if people are doing something unseemly, that's where they may be. And she has a good slogan that she gave us that they use a lot, I guess, in the sheriff's department, is if you say something, or if you see something, say something. Yes. So just an example of this, after we had kind of put this initiative out there, some staff members came to my office and said, hey, there's a couple of guys, they're kind of walking through the children's area, and they're looking around and taking pictures. Just wanted to let you know. So I walked out and I found the guys, and I just introduced myself and said hello, and it turned out this guy had grown up in this library, and he loved what was happening. He wanted to send some pictures home to his mom. So in cases like this, it never hurts, though, to just ask, and so you can figure out why people are doing certain things in the building. So I think that was a great example of the staff taking that to heart, and if you see something, say something. Even though that wasn't nefarious, it's helpful to know what's going on in the different areas of the library. So that was a good point from the captain.
It was good. So, in the future, we intend to just keep communicating with the sheriff's department. We actually invited their deputies that if they're very interested in drinking coffee and they're late and we're still open, they can come and have some coffee here, as well as use our restroom facilities, which I think we did. But I will say that that same week, they actually were responsive. I drove by the Lucas Branch, I come up that way on my way home, and there was a patrol car there in the parking lot. So just the fact that they were just there watching, patrolling, is just something that's, I think it's going to go a long way. So I'm glad that we are reestablishing our communication with them and working with them to see what best practices they can suggest for our buildings and our staff and all our patrons here. Thank you. That's all I have to report.
Thanks, and just real quickly, we're also acknowledging we're getting close on time. I had the opportunity to travel to Australia. I missed our ALA midwinter meeting, which was in Denver, which I think Stella went to, because I attended an academic library conference in Australia, and I'm going to report that they don't have kangaroos just jumping around. They talk a little bit funny. They note our funny speech. But to Betsy's point about visiting libraries, I visited the Victoria State Library while I was there. We can't stay away from libraries when we travel professionally. But thank you to all the trustees for their reports. The next item on the agenda is a closed session. We're going to recess into closed session at 9:03 p.m. Okay, we're going to recess back into open session at 9:42 p.m. And can our interim secretary please give a public report of any reportable action from closed session?
Yes, the board went into closed session at 9:03 p.m. No action was taken by the board on any of the three items. The board came out of closed session at
9:42
p.m. I'll indicate the Director, Mindy Kate, was absent. And I'll sign it as the interim secretary.
Thank you, Armando. Agenda items for future agendas. Anybody on the board? I will ask that we, anything not resolved from the new business, move on to old business for next meeting, and anything from old business that was not resolved, which I think is everything. No, sorry, the resolution was resolved. 2, 4. So those 4, plus any additional ones from the other one, move forward to old business for next meeting.
Did you want to add an election of officers, or did you want to wait?
Yes, please. Yes, thank you. And we also need to name liaisons to the support groups. Is anybody currently? I think Adelila was a liaison to one of the groups.
I'm the liaison to the friends.
Your friends?
Be the liaison to the friends.
Okay, so can you add that? Yeah, new liaisons. So we usually have a board liaison, one to the friends and one to the foundation. And Gwen, by her membership on both groups, is excluded from being our liaison, so it'll be one of the rest of us probably. Okay, thank you. With no further action before the board, the meeting is adjourned 9:44. Oh, thank you. May I have a motion? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The meeting is adjourned 9:44.